मेदिनि विश्वविनोदिनि नन्दिनुते गिरिवरविन्द्यशिरोदिनि वासिनि विष्णुविलासिनि जिष्णुनुते भगवति हेशिति कण्ठकुटुम्बिनि भूरि कुटुम्बिनि भूरि कृते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते सुरवरवर्षिणि दुर्धरदर्शिनि दुर्मुखमर्षिनि हर्षरते त्रिभुवनपोषिनि शङ्करतोषिनि किल्बिषमोषिनि घोषरते धनुजनि रोषिनि गितिश्रुतरोषिनि दुर्मथतोषिनि सिन्धुषुते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते
Hi guys, thank you for joining the live stream. We are back with Mr. Sociologist after a long time, and from my new setup, a podcast with him for the very first time, who has been, by the way, cheating on me by joining, doing live streams with Nava Vimarsh every now and then, whom I think must be banned. Every channel that has a Sanskrit name must be banned, so that it benefits me and I can do crony socialism and protectionism. So today's it's a debate between him and I for the first time on camera. Do Indians even deserve libertarianism, free markets, capitalism? And do we deserve private education, among other private things? He says no, I say yes. The reason I say yes is because I don't think any race or any particular group of people believe in something objectively. Their views or whatever they consider models are a result of years of convenience, and convenience sold to them as discourse, and discourse sold to them then as models. So Indians have suffered from a discourse of socialism and povertarianism, and now the time is for them to get back to the days which Max Weber describes as the least amount of antichromatism he has seen in the whole world. By antichromatism, he meant the least amount of that paisa kya hai, haath ki mehle, etc. kind of thinking. So, Mr. Sociologist, why do you think Indians don't deserve libertarianism?
A warm welcome to you too. And yes, so Indians don't deserve libertarianism. Why I say this is, okay, so first let's qualify one thing here. I think you and I both agree libertarianism, free market, private education, private healthcare, these are not bad ideas. These are actually ideas that we both mutually agree upon.
Right.
What we do not agree on, I think, is where you think that this should be done in India as soon as possible, and I believe that Indians don't deserve it. That's where we are, that's why we are different, bro. We are not the same, bro. So why I'm saying this is that I believe that a free market setup works at some level when you have an entrepreneurial spirit that guides most of the people. Now, you might say that, okay, but that's never going to be the case. Not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone wants to be a competitor in something, right? But so it will never happen. But I believe that Indians have by and large been fed, like you said, they have been fed this convenient kind of raita that that protectionism is a good thing. Any kind of protectionism, more laws. The first thing we resort to are more laws are good, more police is good, more bureaucrats are good. You have to appoint more people to check on the progress of other people. So our mentality is not one of competition with a good state of mind. The main problem that we have is we kind of have become a group. We are not a race per se. We are a nationality. We are a nationality of people who are kind of addicted to getting things for free or we don't want to work for it, or we want to demonize those who do work for it. That is our main problem. And I think this is where if see, the other premise here is that if anyone tries to kind of implement a free market setup where your railways are privatized, your education system is privatized, your uh, where we privatize most things including healthcare, education, we kick out the license charge for good, all that stuff is done, that government will be voted out of power immediately, without a second thought. People act like they are owed things by the government, but they don't realize that they are paying for those things in different ways. They are paying for those things in the long run, but they don't have the realization. Or why, what I also realized during demonetization, for example, why Modi ji won UP after demonetization was everyone loved that rich people got screwed in demonetization. Okay, they didn't really mind standing in the lines. I'm telling you this. We are habitually, we're standing in lines for like forever.
Yeah.
Now we don't
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
that much.
Yeah.
But that part did not hurt them. It was winter, in fact. It didn't really hurt a lot of people. What really they loved, in fact, and why they overwhelmingly gave Yogi Adityanath, I think 300 out of 400 seats or something, that was because that they loved the fact that rich people had to be throwing away their cash, rich people had to give up a lot of things, their money. So that that negativity motivated them for kind of reforms. Okay. So that is the same mentality that people have when they say we should appoint more Babus to check the corruption, because they are against corruption, but they don't realize why the corruption exists.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
from what your past few live streams on Anirban Bhattacharya and all are exposing in some
Right.
ways,
Yeah.
is that they understand that socialism is a problem. They understand socialism is creating so many problems.
Yeah.
But the solution is more and more socialism. Their solution is always wrong. They diagnose, like they give you, they say, okay, this guy's cancer, and then they say
Yeah.
give him homeopathy medicines. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's like that. It won't work unless you understand why this is a problem. And there's a deliberate misunderstanding. Like poverty has been so normalized and so incentivized in this country, and talking about poor people has been so incentivized all the time. Anyone does anything, everyone has to talk about poor people. Oh, even we have fallen for this trap. We have spoken more about poor people, that why Bengal's socialist policies are bad for poor people. But while it is true, while it has an element of truth in it, and it is certainly true, the main problem here is that this has been incentivized. Talking about poor people all the time has been made into a like virtue. And jitna, the more you talk about poor, oppressed, and these people, the more you are supposed to gain some kind of symbolic capital in society. So that kind of this socialist mindset is very problematic for any kind of country which is supposed to be supposed to have a place where you have a competitive market, which is supposed to be cutthroat, where people will get laid off, where people will get screwed over by other competitors. But they don't realize that this screwing over by capitalists, if at all, if we can call it that, is way worse than when the government takes your own money and gives you freebies in return for your votes.
Yeah.
So that is way that, but that's what I'm saying. Like people here do not have the. I think I'm happy that people like Ajit Bharti, you others, everyone is slowly realizing this vision, maybe giving it to people. But tell me one thing. People still aspire to that lal batti. People still want to be in the railways. You will notice that every few days there is a news article. So there is some peon's job or some kind of terrible government job that nobody should be applying for, and PhD people are applying for that. Okay, so people are like, unemployment itna बढ़ गया है कि PhDs are applying for drain manual cleaner ka job and stuff. Okay, it is very different. The PhD, जिसने PhD किया है, his attitude is not that I will do research and do something better, or I will teach more people and whatever, I will discover something new. That's not the attitude. The attitude is, bhai, mujhe aisa naukri chahiye where I can get a fixed salary by doing nothing.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is why these people apply. These people don't apply because there is a dearth of jobs or unemployed. Also, this brings me to the other thing of education. If you see the quality of PhDs in India, they suck. Okay, very few thesis in India gets produced. Literally, I saw somebody doing a thesis on that guy who recently opened वो विजय थालापति विजय के ऊपर PhD कर रहा है. हाँ, exactly the point. ये एक और आ गया हमारा savior.
Yeah.
Why should government fund research? Why should the research always been funded by capitalists? That's why the US is ahead in terms of research, because bloody pharmaceutical companies, Elon Musk, these kind of people funding PhD and research. That is why, and that is a very cutthroat environment where you have to perform.
Yeah.
People here do not get that. For people here, the exam thing, you keep saying na कि exam crack कर लिया. अरे वही तो है. Exam is the ultimate end.
कठिन परीक्षा.
Crack करने का, this is like defeat final boss. हो गया, मार दिया exam को, बस खत्म. My job is now to enjoy my लाल बत्ती car and augmented salary of I don't know, 2-3 lakhs a month for doing nothing. So that is the attitude. The attitude is not to be innovative, which is why I'm saying that he left. Anyway, so the attitude is one where we are actually not trying to innovate or do something new with our lives. We kind of we're all trying to become feudal lords in some way or the other.
Hello.
Where did you go? Yeah.
My internet was gone.
Oh, I suggest get that that version where you don't have the wire coming from outside. You need a receiver where like a mobile phone, they give you the net directly into your room. Anyway, so that's the thing. Like, that's my basic argument, but we can take it forward from here.
Yeah. So first, let me answer 2 questions here, which are repeatedly being asked. One is that the how channel. Yes, it's a very CPIM leaning. We know. Yeah, it's very true.
Absolutely.
And Hailstan is saying out of topic. It's not really out of topic. I think it's in fact a very fair question to reply to here. Out of topic related to your previous community post. Why do I support bands and artists who are openly leftists, mock Bharat Dharm, and their lyrics are like communist manifestos? Yes. The problem is that their upbringing, I understand where they are coming from. I understand because I was part of those same social circles. Now, the thing I was talking about jokingly in the very beginning, that Nave Vimarsh is doing live streams with Mr. Sociologist, and while I'm not doing live streams, and it's eating into my market, and the free market is benefiting both of us. Whoever wants to watch his stuff can watch. Whoever wants to watch my stuff can watch without actually really eating into each other's markets. But imagine if I was a socialist or a right-wing protectionist, I would say that because of some excuse or the other, that channel needs to be banned so that I can in fact sneakily be the only player in the market. Which would be a wrong thing, and in fact there wouldn't be any eating into each other's markets, because when both of our channels grow, some of my audience will permanently shift to his, and whereas some of his audience might in fact find my channel better, but they will find us probably with the other's channel. In that same way, there ever should not be protectionism for the artists as well, not in terms of industry, not in terms of any innovation, and not in terms of art. And when it comes to most arts, except maybe classical music, and even a lot of people in classical music are leftists. What am I supposed to do here? Stop listening to music or stop watching movies? What can I do? Or just listen to them secretly, sneakily, and never talk about it in public? And especially with people like Bloodywood and stuff, and Pineapple Express, who are doing stuff that is being appreciated in the whole world. And you see, almost all Indian musicians do gigs and concerts outside India, right? like any Bengali artist, Bollywood artist, etc. But 99.99% of them get invited to NRI concerts, where they are inviting you to perform in their Durga Puja or some Republic Day or some India related, Hinduism related event, where only Indians of USA or the West are listening to the artists from here. But it's people like Bloodywood who are competing in the global market of those music genres. Okay, like the band Shakti, Shankar S. and Loy, and John McLaughlin, etc. Then Edapalli Ramaswamy, or also known as Prasanna. Then it's bands like Bloodywood. These people play those genres in those genres and get invited to festivals of particularly those genres, not concerts are organized by NRIs. Okay, so these are the real deals. Okay, at the top of their field, representing India, Bharat, and making our country proud even. So and in that situation, how can I not listen to them, especially if I like those genres? Imagine like you must have seen some Hollywood movie or the other, right? And all of Hollywood has a left-wing bias. So are you going to stop watching anything Western completely? If you have, or if you do manage to do that, it might not be that beneficial for the larger discourse or for art itself, or even for your mental health maybe. But that's not my concern, right? If you are that much into movies and music as I am, then I have to watch leftists making art. But on the other hand, there are right-wing artists as well in Hollywood, like Ted Nugent, the singer. He's a hardcore Republican, conservative. Mel Gibson, of course. How am I supposed to not watch Apocalypto now, just because Mel Gibson is a far-right guy? So in the same way, we watch movies made by leftists, movies made by right-wingers, and movies made by right-wingers who pretend to be leftists. So here we are in India, where there are not. Hello, let me know if the audio. Yeah, the audio is still now. It's back now. Now, in such a situation, the only thing there's left for me to do is wait for some right-wing people to do good metal or good jazz, or listen to bad metal or bad any of those genres made by right-wing people and call that great. That benefits absolutely nobody, and that's regressive protectionism, according to me. Let's see. His counter is that Dada, simply listen to artists that align with your ideology. There are fucking none. If wouldn't support Bharat Dharmic artists, why should Hindutva support left-wing? Because more artists are left.
We should stop watching movies altogether. Matlab, let's face one thing, the left knows art. I'm sorry to say the left is better at art than the right, in India at least. Okay.
And even if I listen to people whose political ideologies I'm not conformed with, and people who do Indian music, then am I really sure that Ajay Atul is a nationalist? Am I really supposed to be sure that Surya Gayatri, Uttara Krishnan are not commies or woke people? Surya Gayatri is probably not. Uttara Krishnan might be. How many people am I going to stop listening to or stop talking about, especially if they're making India's name proud all over the world, just because they're leftists? Anyway,
the main problem is that if you think about it, the left knew that the left kind of operated in a relatively free space where it kind of monopolized. So let's say California, right? Why did Hollywood shift to California? Why did the industries shift to Hollywood? Or like Hollywood was a small town in California. So earlier what Edison did was Edison wanted like royalties from all the movies that would be shot in New Jersey. So then everyone shifted to Hollywood to kind of, make movies. And then Hollywood became Hollywood. It became, because there was a freer market. You could express yourself without much problems. So then obviously, because the product was superior, they marketed it and it's now Hollywood became a global phenomenon, right? And see, good art is always going to come from more capitalist enterprises. But here's the problem in India. Most artists in India compete for government favors. Most artists, I'm not saying all, but folk artist bolo, jo bhi bolo, everyone wants, like, the first thing people want is government scholarship, government backed, some artist, whatever. And we have to kind of, and honestly, it's not entirely their fault either, because we don't have a very free, like abhi to YouTube has, so you can hear maybe some, like let's say your channel for example would not have come up without क्या बोलते हैं, without this kind of YouTube kind of setup, right, where anyone can open a channel. But imagine that the same was with artists. You'd have to be close to some Daud gang, some politicians to get a studio to record your songs. You would have to pay a union. You would have to do this and that. So people had to be some kind of feudal lord, right?
Yeah.
So that is why the problem arises, that we have been so here's the other problem that I'm telling you why libertarianism we don't deserve or we won't get so easily. The problem is that the poverty of aspirations argument that that Sanjeev Sanyal talks about, and yesterday we spoke about it on Navavimarsh.
It was a very good podcast. It was your best discussion so far on Navavimarsh. Yes, last night's podcast.
So see, this is why I had to come back here to our roots. Anyway, so actually, the commodity that people want is me. So they can go to Navavimarsh.
Exactly.
Here. So anyway, so I should take money from both of you. Anyway. So what I was saying is that feudal lord होने का इतना ख्वाहिश है. So many people want to be feudal lords in their respective. तुम ये भी देखो music in I know at least in Indian classical music, because I have family members who learn Indian classical music. So they have this gharana system which is fine. Gharana was okay. Gharana pehle tha. But they have all these regulatory things where the gharana guy, like the guru, can make or break your career. It is very feudal. And you have to stick to a certain set of rules, and you have to oil your guru to get somewhere, and then you become your own kind of feudal lord, and then you decide on the career of other people. ये YouTube आके एक चीज अच्छा हुआ कि मतलब what happened is now anyone can be a musician, and it's free. If your product is good, it will be picked up. Otherwise, it won't. It's simple as that. People won't be forced to go somewhere and listen to your music because somebody said it's good. इससे caste भी होता है. The Doverlin argument that you and I keep making, right? That's a product of socialism. The Doverlin thing was supposed to be limited to a few people, and it still is. And अभी वो क्या हो गया कि people just go there for status symbol. वहाँ पे even if the music that they're playing is 500 years old without any kind of innovation. I'm not saying that people in like classical musicians in India are not innovative, but there is certainly a lack of innovation sometimes in Indian classical music, which has become closer to rote learning sometimes. Okay.
Actually, that's the problem with the name classical music. They are not supposed to evolve. Then it's not classical. Bertolt Brecht is usually quoted by commies all the time. So I haven't read anything by Bertolt Brecht as of yet. But I found a quote by him in one of the books, in the introductions of one of the books. I think in Amartya Sen's book, or no, in the translation of Odyssey. Okay. So the translator was saying that, see, these are the concerns I have while doing this translation and stuff. And there he mentions that Bertolt Brecht said that if you declare, the moment you declare something classical or a classic, that's when you kill that genre or kill that piece of art, because then no one listens to it for fun or mental satisfaction anymore. They only listen to it for status. It's done. The moment you declare it classical, it's done.
Absolutely. And dekho, Rishi has made a good question here. Isn't it the same everywhere with the whiplash example?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It is true, but I would say one more thing. In the US, the music market is so huge, right? That the guy from Whiplash, if he chose, he could be an independent drummer in a different band or something separately. He could go to another part of the country and start over. And he would get his own audience there and funding, right? For example, I was doing some research on Didi. Its name is Didi, right?
Sean Combs.
So that guy, he launched, I think, Tupac Shakur and all these guys. And matlab America mein there's a possibility that you could be a absolutely poor guy living in a like crime-ridden neighborhood and become a huge sensation overnight. It was possible in the US, still is kind of, but
It has
in
happened
India,
repeatedly.
it happened repeatedly, right? That's what you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
So the point is that you in India, at least in the classical scene, I know about this, that there are cliques. Like somebody said here that
Yeah.
Sangeet Research Academy, there are cliques where the guru is going to bless somebody and usse hi hota hai. Otherwise, it's not going to evolve. And beyond the point, unless something evolves with the times, right? Like if
Yeah.
you're not playing some more trendy like for example, there's this guy called Prem Joshua. I'm sorry we're veering into music, but music is a commodity, so I think it will help our argument. So there's a guy called Prem Joshua who used the sitar and other kind of classical flute and all that in India and did kind of techno music with it. Okay.
Okay.
And that was brilliant. I loved listening to Prem Joshua. I actually got bored listening to sitar, classical sitar. Okay. In some ways. So I guess that's the main thing. Like Prem Joshua, I guess, could become a phenomenon because of the availability of more record labels internationally, and there was a market for that kind of music.
Yeah.
But ये market ही नहीं होता है इंडिया में, because if you try to deviate from your guru's path in the classical music scenario in India, you will get even not just in classical. I've heard this even is for western. जो लोग western भी बजाते हैं यहाँ पे उनका भी होता है, गिटार विटार इनमें भी होता है. So my point is that that is where I guess Indians have to get out of that mentality of protectionism.
Yeah.
Guru is not God. Guru is a path, maybe at best. Guru is not the end, and your feudalism is not the end. Being a feudal lord and sitting on top of a throne is not the be all end all of everything. And once you see the anti-monarchy kind of argument, so a lot of people here are talking about centralization in the comments. So let's go back a bit in history then we'll understand why libertarianism happened, why free markets happened. So the centralization concept, the central states that evolved in Europe at that time, in the late medieval and early modern period, 1500s to 1800s and all, the French state and all that, these were very centralized states. And what happened was, because these were centralized states, they kind of evolved this bureaucratic structure to collect taxes. Okay. And this kind of, the more the king needed a standing army to wage wars and collect taxes, the more people were appointed to the bureaucracy. So centralization actually led to more bureaucrats proliferating. And it was the tyranny of bureaucrats that led to kind of the French Revolution happening in some ways. Matlab, there was a bloated bureaucracy to collect taxes. Okay. The state became overtly powerful. So when you say China is progressing, China is able to progress at the cost of certain rights that its citizens do not get. In Europe, the concept of rights came because the citizens started protesting against the state going on their rights, taking them away whenever they want, whatever, doing like you feudal lord bana diya pura ekdam, jisko bhi utha ke le jao, torture karo, jo bhi karo. That kind of stuff pissed off people so much that they started revolting. And they started slowly acquiring more and more rights. The main reason that the British crown lasted for this long was because of the Magna Carta. It started giving back rights to people. Okay, so that is why you have see, the free market concept was essential here, because when you have the right to trade on your own terms, then you can do more, you can progress more. But if you're paying crores in taxes, if you're paying a lot of taxes, then you're not going to be able to kind of compete with everybody else. You're not going to be able to compete on a global scale. I mean, you can argue with colonial capitalism, this, that, whatever, but the truth is that Europe could progress mainly because it became a free market enterprise in most places, which people started getting on their own. Without the free market kind of system, America and Europe would not have been able to accumulate this much wealth. The per capita GDP would not have been this high. There's no socialist country in the world with such a high, and China also had to kind of institute heavy state. Dekho, China mein, even if your per capita GDP increased, what happened is it came through the capitalist mode of production, but you couldn't have more than one child. You couldn't go wherever you wanted. You couldn't open your mouth against the government. You couldn't start a business without government's favor or funding. So what happened is that despite getting some higher GDP, per capita GDP, which is quite doubtful in my opinion, even then, what you ultimately have is you have a very dystopian kind of country where you have a population pyramid that will collapse at any given time. Okay, so
Yeah.
it is an unsustainable system without the free market thing. So
Now,
precisely,
one thing that one sort of argument that's seemingly gradually now becoming popular. I think Abhijit Armitra is saying it, Daniel Boardman is saying it, and even Phil Labonte, one of those libertarian right-leaning guys in metal, for thank God, vocalist of All That Remains, who is the co-host of Tim Pool's podcast. All these people are saying that, see, we have this concern and sort of a moral dilemma about asking the government to actively pursue too many right-wing policies and instead leave it to the market, incentivize and things, because we know that the moment leftists come in, they will use those laws and actions as precedents to justify whatever they again do against the country's interest or against right-wingers or right-wing ideology or nationalism, etc. Okay, but now they are pointing out that the leftists do it anyway, whereas the right-wingers have the dilemma. Or at least these libertarian-minded right-wingers have this dilemma.
yeah.
In keeping in mind this argument, I'm not fully convinced if they are right or not, but keeping in this mind this argument, therefore, is centralization in any field a good thing or a bad thing? Should we centralize up until Modi's power and then pray to God that Rahul Gandhi becomes PM and does not use that kind of centralization to fuck us?
No, so precisely centralization means,
or will he do it anyway, even if Narendra Modi plays libertarian?
So let me give you an example. Okay, so just say Montesquieu. I'm sure you guys have heard of that guy, Montesquieu. So Montesquieu's
Montesquieu.
Montesquieu, whatever, jo bhi ho. Basically, I mean, his name is spelled the way I pronounced it anyway. So that dude, he went to France and he saw that there was a separation of the there was a division of power between different branches of government. Why? And he kind of wanted to enact that in England. No, he went to England and found that, and he wanted to enact that in France. Anyway, so what happened was that I made a mistake there. Anyway, so problem ye tha ki that didn't see the French system is one of checks and balances. Okay, so when the checks and too much checks and balances, but in a way that's not necessarily always bad. That's why the French are where they are. Of course, ye dekho, the commies have used that system to proliferate and convince people. And this is another reason why my argument today is where it is. Ki matlab tum acha system bhi doge na. There are a bunch of people who want like a quick fix. They want sugar. They want protection. They don't want like तुम सोचो कि अच्छा फ्री मार्केट सिस्टम बना दिए. हाँ, जैसे फ्रांस में था, it was good for trade, it was good for art, it was good for culture, whatever. It was good for open space of ideas. You could blaspheme in France. You could say anything against the church or ulema or Hinduism or whatever. You can say whatever the hell you want. You have Charlie Hebdo. But the problem happens when the left uses this same protection to kind of get in and convince people ki dekho bhai system abhi bhi kharab hi hai, and we can give you a better system by giving you sugar. We can give you sugar in the form of Lokhir Bhandar. We can give you sugar in the form of unemployment bhata. Okay, we can give you this paisa, that paisa, wo paisa, pension, ye sab denge. Now France is totally bankrupt right now because of this kind of system of pensions. Okay, so that is why this is a problem. Like even in Western countries, if you have a kind of so in the West, the good thing about, let's say, the US or something, is that when Trump says that we don't want communism, we don't want to give you Lokhir Bhandar, people understand that bhai Lokhir Bhandar money is coming from my pocket in the future, so Lokhir Bhandar is a bad idea, so they may vote on that idea. Okay, but in India or even in other places, sometimes that does not happen. The level of maturity, the political maturity of the people is not at that level where they will vote or they will support a party which will actually make their lives better in the long run but harder right now. Okay, so that's why I'm saying that we don't deserve it. We don't deserve free markets or private education, because people here want feudal lord, matlab whatever. Lokhir Bhandar kya hai? Please explain. Gautam Varun wants to know. What is Lokhir Bhandar?
Lokhir Bhandar is Trinamool's version of Ladli Behan, Latki Behana, etc. So, which costs 12,000 crores dollars.
You get money for existing. You exist, so the government pays.
For being a wife, for being a housewife or a wife?
No. Government will pay you anyway. Matlab, you shouldn't be an income tax person. Matlab, you should not earn enough to pay income tax. Then you get it, or some other crap. Like they had all this stuff where तुम्हारे घर में fridge है तो नहीं देंगे ये सब. So if they actually send, now the government will appoint one guy to check if you have a fridge, if you have a TV, if you have a car, and then that guy will go around collecting $500 from you and say that हाँ मैं file कर दूंगा तुम्हारे लिए. And then you don't have fridge or car, whereas you actually have fridge and car. And then you say that, matlab, that's how it works in India, right? So
yeah, and we actually, I have some points to discuss about Bengal based on the things you said yesterday in Navavimarsha's podcast. But just to inform people, it costs 12,000 crore rupees, Bengal's Lokhir Bhandar. Is it 1,200 per month or 2,000 rupees per month?
No, 1,200. 1,200 for, I think, SC, ST, OBC. And 1,000 for general category.
Okay. So now here's today, even before we are getting into the discussion, too many good comments and questions are coming. So we have to keep taking them from time to time, because then it becomes more juicy, I think. The age-old question that can we fight a concentrated one giant group if we are not protected by one very, very powerful centralized government? How's the protection going so far? And
I agree is it going? Okay. So I kind of partially agree with this guy and also disagree. So I'll tell you why. So number one, so there are preconditions to do with proper libertarianism. If you have a section of the population, almost 20% of the population, who are against the rest of the population, right? Whose main plan is to disrupt the population in its way of life or whatever, and who essentially cause roadblocks on the path of development. Then it's
literal and metaphorical.
Literal and metaphorical. Then it's a big problem. Like if you want to implement libertarianism there, they will simply like, oh, France wala system of France maybe wahi ho raha hai na. Samuel Paty got killed in France. Remember that. So that aspect is there. But having said that, here's the other problem that I want to point to Ravi, that if we have a very strong Hindu so-called state, right-wing Hindu state, we are depending essentially on the goodwill again of some one or two dudes who will let us down at some level. Matlab, if we expected ki in 2014 people who voted for Modi, or 2019 people who voted for Modi, that all this Waqf board, UCC, all this thing will be done. Okay, Bangladeshis will be kicked out, NRC hoga, ye hoga, wo hoga. It did not happen. And there are only excuse after excuse. The more you plant your faith in a government, the government actually lets you down. And I tell you another problem with state intervention. You see, we allowed the government to intervene in our community. The Hindu community, we allowed them to intervene. Which is why now what happens is that, see, Muslims and Christians did not allow them to intervene in their inside their community, right? So they have more religious freedom and rights than we do because
and
of
incentivization.
and incentivization. So we involve them, and then see, देखो state को घुसाओगे ना कहीं पे, state will always take more than it's supposed to take.
Because they are not
Beyond that,
efficient disbursers of funds. Never.
no, and they're
Never
not.
in the
And
history of states.
देखो जो होगा ना, I'll tell you what will happen. A lot of people will build a lot of temples. A lot of these people are, see, I'll be honest with you guys. We're not against building temples and all. Okay,
Of
temples
course.
are great.
Yeah.
My point is that when your whole focus is building temples using whatever taxpayer money, common Hindus money, हमारे ही तो पैसा जा रहा है, then the problem happens that the real Hindutva issues get sidelined. There is a thing where people do things for visibility and votes rather than
Optics.
actual reforms. Okay. And that is the other problem with giving the state too much power. The thing about libertarianism is there is an imagination of a system where you have rights as an individual. Your rights as an individual transcend the rights of communities. Okay. ये problem ये जो India में है, that we do not have. The rights of certain communities transcend the right of other communities, not to say even individuals. Okay. And that is because you gave the state that much power to intervene in your community or our community, and you told them कि भाई हाँ वो तो बच्चे हैं उनको छोड़ दो, they let them do whatever the fuck they want.
Self-regulatory of low expectations.
Yes, and we gave the state these kind of overwhelming, overarching powers. The state told us that our temples are supposed to be controlled by them. The state told us that we are supposed to forget about the fascism of certain Middle Eastern countries on our state, our country. Okay, we are supposed to forget certain things that happened and remember certain caste systems that happened in India. Okay, the state incentivized the victimhood of others and incentivized our victimhood, and also our the things that would have given us some kind of advantages in life. So when you over empower the state in terms of education or जो भी हो, यही होता है. Now imagine if most of the educational system was run by temples and by certain kind of the way it was, basically like the way Christians do it, right? Their churches run their schools, and those schools are doing quite well, those schools and colleges. So if we had the same rights right now, we would have been able to do much better.
That is the job of a temple, because would it be someone's argument that temples were state properties or government properties, even in the times when the temples were the economic hubs, the lenders to banks, and the spot of education and basically therapy in today's terminology, that is. So how were those private entities sort of functioning then? If we need state to do everything, because we are going to get to education even. But so far your points were in the way of pointing out the state, how the state has fucked up. But the other part of that argument still exists, that what happens when someone with that kind of power comes into power, who still has that power but is not our guy, so to speak. And this amazing bharosa that as long as we control the state, i.e. Hindutva. So do you control the state right now? Or what more will it take for you to control the state? How many MPs do you think you will need? What exactly is waiting to happen, after which you can say that, yes, now you are a person, this Ravi guy on YouTube, who actually controls the Indian state and does everything according to your particular wish. And who knows what even your wishes are, because you and I might seemingly have the same goals. We obviously at the moment disagree even with the way to do it. But what happens when, in terms of the direct policy or the goal outcome, even there we disagree? Then whose say in the state gets prioritized, yours or mine? And imagine then I have a Hindutva state who supports my views and is insanely powerful and fucks all your views, or you have and then vice versa. And not to mention that all the leftists who then, when they come to power, are they going to decrease the size of the state when they come to power and not fuck us? What's going to happen then? So therefore the solution always is incentivize good behavior, disincentivize good behavior. And in terms of libertarianism protecting us from Islamofascists, etc., first question will always be, अब तक क्या उखाड़ लिया है स्टेट ने. Secondly, with self-defense laws, most things go away in terms of them blocking metaphorical and literal development and stuff. The literal ones can't be done if it's a libertarian society where even the roads are private property. You enter my private property and do shenanigans, my private security fucks you. Right now they can go on with those shenanigans because they are doing all those halla on public property. And like Jay Deepak said in one speech where he was seemingly very pro free market and stuff, that when it's everyone's property, it's nobody's property. What's the first thing that gets burned down when there's a riot? It's public property, which is theoretically everybody's property. That gets burned down. When it's specifically someone's property.
Taxpayer tum hi ho, bhai.
The patarbaz is obviously not the taxpayer.
Exactly. So,
but at least even he pays GST when he buys a packet of chips.
No, but whatever, as you know, that majority taxpayers or whatever, jo bhi ho, are Hindus, and they are the ones who care about this stuff. The others don't, and that is the main thing. Like, so why I'm saying again, why I come back to this: Indians don't deserve free market and all. There is this problem that there is a dependence on the state. What Ravi is saying, I understand that he is concerned. Okay,
I think here his counter argument would be that, so what if we depend on the state because it's our guy?
हाँ वही तो, but we are so dependent ना. मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ. I am not saying that libertarianism is a bad thing or whatever. As you know, I am all in favor of that. But I am saying that there are most people think like this: कि state हमारा होगा तो we will control tomorrow. From tomorrow things will be better. Okay, but people don't understand that this is the main fallacy of this argument. Okay, Buddhadev Bhattacharya is saying that the topic has diverted completely.
No, it's in this realm only.
Yeah, because we are talking about whether or not to empower the state. Yeah, that is the main topic, and why Indians don't deserve the the lack of state control. Indians want kind of the more and more state control because we are used to that kind of lifestyle now.
Right.
And
go on.
And this is the bhalo kaku thing, like exactly.
It's a very good argument here. Yeah,
that we expect that the state will be run by bhalo kakus, which is why you see ye jo I liked that actually Aspirants, that TV series on that YouTube series.
Okay.
One good thing they showed towards the end, and I was thinking that, see, I was always conflicted because I have always been against this Babudam thing. But the show that they made on a free market platform using dekho TVF wale shows, they won't show if we had the
wait. Sorry, the non-Bengali guys. Bhalo Kaku means a nice Uncle Ji, who it's our inside joke in the Bengali College Street Kolkata community. Bhalo Kaku is sort of the nice person in every political party, based on whom the nice people, the actually truly good honest people vote. So, and the people who expect their party to do gain all the power and centralize all power and do all the good stuff is based on those certain few 1%, 2% Bhalo Kakus in every party. But in fact, the party gets run by assholes in the party, majorly. And what if even there are at one point 60% Bhalo Kaku, or maybe the Prime Minister is a Bhalo Kaku? What happens that Bhalo Kaku gets replaced by a not so Bhalo Kaku, or a party who is not so, which is not that Bhalo? What then? Anyway,
or whom you think of as Bhalo Kaku. For example, there was this barrister who pretended to be a farmer and then a godman, and got us freedom by doing fasting and stuff. That guy was supposed to be a Bhalo Kaku. Then Fool wale chacha was supposed to be a Bhalo Kaku, that kind of thing. Like Bhalo Kaku is a term for, but Bhalo Kaku primarily we refer to as the local guys who are very good people with no evil intentions, who are very nice people. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the problem happens where let's get back to that thing that perhaps so where was I? That TVF show, Aspirants. So Aspirants, the good thing was towards the end they showed that the Babu, the guy, the main protagonist of the show, he is a pro free market kind of guy. Like he is like union bazi kar raha hai, so he's like union con kar raha hai, so he tries to break up the union. He tries to help more industry come in, and then he gets screwed over by an idealist, another Babu who wants. So dekho, dono hi अच्छे आदमी hai. The leftist guy is also a nice guy. The pro free market guy is also a nice guy. Okay. But the leftist guy gets angry and goes against him because he thinks the Mazdoor are being hurt by not allowed to do unionization. Okay, so I mean, very beautifully they've placed this argument that देखो अल्टीमेटली पावर किसके पास है, स्टेट के पास, तो तुम बिजनेस करोगे कि नहीं ये स्टेट डिसाइड करेगा. Okay, whether you will do business or not is up to whether the state thinks you are worth doing business, your business is worth existing or not. Okay, and that is the bigger problem here. That if one Sandeep Bhaiya comes and stops your work because he loves the Mazdoors more than the industrialists who are evil, who are always evil people supposedly, then you will never have an industry there. And without industry, these same people will starve after 2 more days. Okay, but the problem is that if you want, like, so the problem with this whole thing is that there might be some good bureaucrats, but there might be some bureaucrats. This is a lot of ifs and buts in this system. So that is the major issue here with our whole argument. That a lot of people don't understand that it does not. It depends on some arbitrary factors or luck that we are placing our whole community in. That if a good Modi comes, then maybe it will be good. If and वैसे भी देखो इस बार क्या हुआ, Modi almost lost, right? Modi won by God's grace or whatever. So that's the whole thing, that you can't predict how this whole system will work after a point.
Yeah. And
totally
if
arbitrary.
Today we had a go on.
No, that's why I say it's totally arbitrary. Please continue with your point.
Today, if there's a very, very pro free market, truly small government and courageous, even let's imagine that Narendra Modi has the best of intentions. He is just not at a position to do more free market, small government stuff. But imagine if he was, or if someone maybe with more courage, if courage is the only thing that mattered in this case, that guy comes to power and is not even necessarily pro-Hindutva, but he was very much against government spending and was a fiscal conservative truly, etc. The first thing he would do is shut down Waqf board today. He would stop all Hajj subsidies. He would free all the temples. You won't find me one single libertarian who is opposed to all these three things, even if they are absolutely against BJP, against Hindutva, against Hinduism. Okay, but in fact there are so-called libertarians who are against temple reclamation, against freeing all temples, and against stopping reservations. Yes, reservations would also be stopped by libertarians because they are pro merit. And since libertarianism is such a pro-diversity and a pro-merit idea, that benefits Hinduism most. The other people in the discussion, the other groups in the discussion, they benefit from big state and socialism because they don't have the power to convince people. They only use force, manipulation, and lies. So the best weapon against these things is libertarianism. And as I said, if being religious incentives, state-funded, taxpayer-funded incentives for being religious for the non-Hindu religions goes away, half of their religiosity and metaphorical and literal patharbazi of development goes away in the first place. And secondly, it's most of their, if shenanigans happen in private property, they are fucked anyway. Now, I need to bring in what you said about Bengal yesterday at Navavimarsh, or the day before yesterday. I can't really remember exactly, but it was a very great thing you pointed out, because let's treat Bengal as a microcosm of entire India in this case, because it does extrapolate to a large extent, which is that you pointed out that most people in Bengal aspire to be teachers, no matter how qualified they are, or no matter how poor they are somehow or the other, by bribing and stuff, they just want to be teachers. And this again shows what you said in the beginning, that we are so povertarianists that even when discussing free markets, we go on have to giving sort of an apologia that it's for the poor people, see Lokhir Bhandar, how it hurts the poor, etc. But you see, it hurts the middle class as well. It hurts the upper middle class as well, because the richest people will not get hurt no matter what the political system. The number of rich people will of course vary depending on whether it's a socialism based party in power or a free market capitalism based party in power. But there will be some degree of crony capitalism, and the number of rich people will be less or more. But the middle class also gets hurt by freebies all the time, and that's important, because not each and every poor person works at a company run by a billionaire. A lot of them are hired by middle class people and upper middle class people as well, or even the lower half of the middle class. Okay, so the lower middle class, let's say. So all of those lower class people who are directly getting hurt because of Lukhir Bhandar are also indirectly getting hurt because their potential employers are becoming piss poor by paying for Lukhir Bhandar. Okay, so talk about that. Bengalis looking to become mainly school teachers, and where in fact the state is being run by non-Bengali IAS and IPS people.
Yeah. So what I was saying yesterday was in Navavimarsh, who is a much better channel than you right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, so anyway, so yeah, but both of you are my whatever good friends. So I won't choose here. So let me get back to it. Dekho, I saw something very strange. So I have been in touch with bongs of all walks of life, and when I say all, I mean all. Because of my profession, I had to teach a lot of different kinds of people. So anyway, the funny thing what I noticed was that when Bengalis become rich, they are like very privileged bongs. Okay, they become professors in foreign countries. Okay, मतलब टीचर ही है बट थोड़ा हाई लेवल का टीचर है. हाँ.
Yeah.
And then when they are slightly poorer or less lower middle class and all, they become teachers, but in the local schools and all government schools. But the aspiration is to be teacher. The aspiration is not to be a Elon Musk or a Adani or Ambani or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or IPS IAS bhi nahi banna hai. The main thing is that when you ask bongs that why don't you want to be an IAS, they will say, oh, I don't want to work for a politician who is less educated than me.
Yeah.
Okay, that kind of rubbish kind of argument.
Yeah.
As if the main thing is, see, where I respect, even despite all our hate for Babu culture and all that, one thing is there that ये researcher देखो, foreign में अभी जो social science में research हो रहा है पूरा बकवास है, even foreign. The good thing about that is slowly all this woke kind of foreign social science that will collapse after a point. Anyway, so let me continue. So where I do respect Biharis and UPites is that they aspire to be kings in their own way. Like they aspire to be IAS IPS because the IAS IPS are essentially running the states, not the elected politicians who come for 5 years and go after that. Okay, except in West Bengal.
Because उनको बार-बार भीख मांगने जाना पड़ता है, या बार-बार भीख मांगने जाना पड़ता है बाबुओं के ऑफिसेज में, इसलिए they know what kind of power they will say, they too want to become that powerful guy.
So here's the other thing, like we bongs pretend like teachers are superior to bureaucrats. Okay,
but in West Bengal people have to go beg in Trinamool party offices in the hands of gundas, so most people want to become Trinamool gundas as well in the lower middle and lower classes.
So that is the other thing, right? That we have to understand that the poverty of aspirations is there. So like look at who's actually running the country, not Biharis, UPites, not bongs. It's actually run by Gujaratis. Okay, whether you like it or not. And guess what their profession is? Right, their business. So that is the main thing. Like you have to understand that this kind of socialist aspiration works also in India because most people are too lazy to kind of do the competition. That look at Adani, right? For example, Adani got screwed twice over by that Hindenburg guy, right? But did he leave everything and run away? He kept doing business, right? Now you can argue that Adani is very crony or whatever. He's Modani, okay. The fact is, he just cracked the code. वो तो सिस्टम ही था कि आफ्टर द बॉम्बे प्लान, जवाहरलाल नेहरू and all, they created the Bombay plan with the Tatas and Birlas to protect their businesses in the long run. So that's why the thing stayed. The kind of business culture where you have to bribe babus, that stayed. These guys, Adani and Ambani, just bribed the system and played the system and went ahead, right? But having said that, but they had the balls to compete. We in West Bengal are not, we're not in a position to compete right now at that level, in that market. And if anything, what the bigger problem is that I've noticed one thing. People admire the Tatas and Birlas like they are gods. Okay.
Yeah.
People admire these crony capitalists like they are gods.
Because they don't know they are crony capitalists. In fact,
No,
even me
they
being,
know at some level. The worst part is they know what crony capitalism is. They
yeah, they
know
don't
that
know how much Tatas and
they
Birlas
don't
used to be
they
crony
don't see
capitalists.
that as a bad thing. They don't see that collusion as a bad thing. State and merchant ka collusion, they don't see that as a bad thing. It's the value system is screwed. The day we realize that the Tata Group did nothing but stifle competition in India in heavy industries, that day will be the day when people actually get out of this mentality of depending on the state.
They
Tata
they
was just
allegedly they allegedly stifled competition.
oh yeah, totally. Yeah, they were nice people. Totally. Agreed. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Ratan Tata
of course.
loved dogs, so he must be a nice person. So
Yes.
my point is this that uh the worst part is that these people cultivate, you see why we had that podcast in Bengali here, that why these big companies, they love being ascetics, they love showing off their simple lifestyle and all, because they know that that's what actually sells, that's what works for most people,
They
that
are
they are
old
good.
players in the game.
It's all the same, you see, it's always the same logic when it comes to this. See, a Donald Trump could never be a prime minister in India
Yeah.
because of his lifestyle, but in the
Yeah.
US they don't give a shit whether you're a good person or a nice person. Elon Musk,
No, they didn't. They used to also give a shit. They just could not afford to give a shit about those facile things and top superficial things anymore. Only in 2016. Before that, they also had to pretend to be a good married guy who grew up in the Midwest in a farm and has
uh,
2 dogs.
uh,
And
I mean
yeah,
that's there, but but you have to agree that it's only in the US that you can say stuff that and do stuff what Trump did and become the president.
yeah,
Okay.
not yet in India.
Yeah, yet so nahi. I mean, even in European countries, right?
Yeah,
You can't be a Trump and get away with it. Uh,
yeah,
Only in the US do you like it is. He played the free market of politics. He made politics into free market. Ki bhai,
hmm,
and also see there are primaries. There are
hmm,
primaries where anyone can contest. Vivek went to almost the end of the primary, right? He was
hmm,
the top three, if I'm not mistaken.
hmm,
हाँ, so उसमें भी rigging विगिंग हुआ था, वो जो भी हो. The
hmm.
problem is that and Ninar has a point, but I'll get back to it.
Nina, read Sandeep Sanyal's short 2008 book. Okay. Anyway, moving on.
The Bombay plan was not actually thought of by Nehru. The Bombay plan was, kind of made in the boardroom of certain Mumbai.
Yeah,
It was called the Bombay plan and not the Nehru plan for a reason.
yeah,
Okay, so think about it later.
yeah.
Anyway, so what I was saying is that Trump, the Republican Party bolo, primaries bolo, even Democrats, but they got Democrats में, they see how they lost. They forced the results to put Hillary up for election and then Kamala up for election. There were no primaries in either way,
Ish.
and Trump won. So where
Hmm.
there is no competition, and then where there is relatively free vote and proper, uh, that worked, that helped them elect the guy they wanted to. In for example, in BJP, let's say you support Yogi Adityanath, right? Let's say
Hmm.
Yogi Adityanath and Modi won't be on a debate stage, and there will not be a free market of votes where I can elect my favorite BJP leader or my favorite
Yeah,
Congress leader, right?
yeah.
यहाँ पे पार्टी स्ट्रक्चर भी वैसा ही है. एंड
Hmm.
सीपीआईएम तो इवन वर्स, सीपीआईएम में तो ब्राह्मण छोड़ के कोई है ही नहीं पॉलिट ब्यूरो में. So the most Brahmanical party in the world. So
Now the what's the opposite of Orientalism? Occidentalism. So the Occidentalist Hindutva socialist would point out as a counter to this argument of yours that there is even some amount of let's say corruption even among the Republican Party and the Democratic Party in terms of letting the primary elections go on freely and stuff. So what will you say to that? My opinion would be that it's only to a degree. They do try to do shenanigans, but at least the debates do happen and are watched by people all across the country, and they do make up their minds based on those arguments even, and how they come across and stuff. But who is able to hire the best PR from, who even gets to reach that stage because of let's say collecting funds and stuff, those of course keep away maybe a lot of deserving candidates, like Ron Paul, Rand Paul. They never became presidents, and Vivek will never probably become a president because of these factors. But after all, there is at least a debate, which is, I think, still better than theoretically a random guy getting the candidacy. It's not always going to happen. But now again, your Bhalukaku right now is in power, who pretty much was the most popular guy in that circle when he became the candidate and became the president. Think of the other guys, your opponents, who are going on asking for other candidates and they're not getting, okay? Or let's say in 2029, how many of you are going to be behind your current Bhalukaku? Are you not going to want a new Bhalukaku? And who's going to listen to you then? Are they really going to listen to you?
Precisely, nobody's going to listen, and that is the frustration with Congress as well, and that is the frustration generally. Like, देखो पूरा feudal lordship ही चल रहा है. Anyone who assumes power in the parties or the businesses or schools or colleges or medical institutes, everything is kind of controlled centrally, which is the biggest problem in my opinion. Abhi dekho, there are election of judges in the US, right? ये जो हमारा frustration है with the judiciary, this would not have remained if we could elect our judges. Okay. The biggest example of centralization is the judiciary.
Wait. Look, your voice is sometimes breaking up. Is it a problem because of my internet on my end? Is the audience hearing his sentences completely? I am sometimes getting breaks. Let me know, okay? Is it a problem with his internet or my headphone or my internet?
Mine or the pretentious libertarian?
Let us know, okay?
Whose voice is breaking? Yeah. So look at how the judiciary works, right?
Yeah.
It works on the collegium system. Collegium. So look at how that you don't have any say in the judicial process of your this thing.
जो मर्जी आएगा करेंगे. You can't do anything. It's your state, no. Your guys are in power. तब देखो क्या कर रहे हैं तुम्हारे power से.
And there are excuses. Like, there will always be excuses for the state not working. But if there were private, there were more free market avenues in India, then what would happen is that these guys would have to compete for your approval. Okay, that would still make more sense than what is happening now. If you guys want more examples, you guys can go to Gems of the Judiciary, Indian Judiciary. There's a channel on this thing X,
Twitter,
and you guys can see what kind of rubbish they do. Now that's the whole point of this problem, that there are no people don't want competition.
Yeah.
Least of all the people who are in the positions to determine our future, they do not want competition, and people are okay with it. People are totally okay with it.
The opposite of the Bhalukaku argument is that the hope that only Bhalukakus will come to power, and therefore imagining that the people who don't want competition are specifically evil people, and there are some people who in fact want competition. It's like, I really want Navavimarsh to come up and take away my audiences and take away Mr. Sociologist when I'm not around. It would be, I guess, if I were let's say someone who did not really understand economics, I would really want Mr. Sociologist to not go to Navavimarsh when I'm not around, so that people wait further for him, and then when he comes to my channel, can only say those specific things on my platform, and no one else should get those views on Navavimarsh. But it's not a correct view, because after all, there's the rising tide lifts all ships and stuff. But my point is that you don't have to wait for people who don't want competition. Right now, what's happening is, regardless of what kind of system you want, or what kind of even policies you want, whether you are a leftist or a right winger, someone or the other who doesn't want competition is getting to keep competition away. In a more freer situation, they don't get to keep people away. Competition has to be encouraged, and it gets encouraged when people with a lot of central power don't keep some people away from their favorite people. That's the problem. competition is best for the people who are buying those services or consuming those services, but everyone will want to keep competition down.
No, and the best example is the Indian Airlines, right? Like when you had only Air India, look at
Yeah.
how it was. And now you can choose. You can pay more and go on the costlier airlines, which are better, which are more on time. You don't have money, you go on the crappier ones, but at least you can reach in an airline, right? You can imagine flying. Pehle to people couldn't even imagine flying. And I think what Akshay Kumar ka ek movie tha Sarfira bolke on this, like where he wanted to start low cost airlines. And वो उसमें भी थोड़ा मतलब देखो, it was made, the original version was a South Indian one which I saw, and these are the kind of South Indian movies I like, I'm sorry to say, which don't have like one guy beating up 10 guys, that kind of stuff. So anyway.
Then you have to watch Rishabh Shetty's stuff. You have to watch Garuda Gaman of Rishabha Vahana. I think
I like that Kishkinda Kandam recently on Hotstar. And
Anurag Kashyap of the South, I think.
Somebody made me watch, you know that guy, somebody made me watch a horrible South Indian movie recently called Marco. Okay.
Oh, I think the Bengali dubbing was done in my friend's studio only, where I worked.
Your Marco didn't want your voice to be heard. Huh? Kya bola? What did you say?
I was saying the Bengali dubbing was done in my friend's studio where I work.
Yes, but that movie is the main reason that I absolutely hate South Indian movies for a reason. That is the kind of movie. But yeah, I will maybe watch Rishabh Shetty stuff. But anyway, so where was I? Where was I before this? Before the whole South Indian movie thing?
Marco, rent seeking. Anyway, we'll come back to that later. So Rishabh Agarwal has contributed 1,000 rupees to Bengal's economy. Thank you. And Nirmala Sitharaman will charge 28% on this allegedly. And thank you Buddhadeva Bhattacharya Archives for contributing 179 rupees to West Bengal's GDP. Now
Sarfira. Yeah. Thanks for reminding, Zero. Sarfira.
Okay.
So Sarfira was originally based on this South Indian movie about low cost airlines. Okay. Now that is based on a true story where the Vijay Mallya guy kind of he gets the big loans and whatever that he gets all the benefits, and this guy who's running a low cost airline gets screwed over. So वहाँ पे थोड़ा एक्टिविज्म था अगेंस्ट कास्ट एंड ऑल, वो तो होगा ही, लाइक साउथ इंडियन मूवीज समटाइम्स वो लेफ्टिस्ट थोड़ा ज्ञान पेल देता है, और उससे भी ज्यादा बॉलीवुड, सो आई डोंट केयर अबाउट दैट. बट व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज दैट even then the main point of the movie was, if I want to create an airline like Elon Musk's SpaceX, I want to create cheaper airlines, then I have the right to open a cheaper airline. Okay. And in the defense of Vijay Mallya, and I must say, and this is what a lot of people don't agree with me, I don't understand what Vijay Mallya did wrong. Why should Vijay Mallya go to jail? He asked for a loan from a government bank, and somebody approved the loan, and he got the loan, and then he couldn't pay it off, and that's it. But the bank, if this were a private bank, they could take over his properties. Okay. And that I don't get it. Like, why was so nobody has ever been able to explain to me why Vijay Mallya did what he, like, where Vijay Mallya went wrong.
He stole our money and ran off. He shouldn't have. He should have paid back and waited.
He was given that money. He didn't rob the bank. He didn't go and in a ski mask and rob the bank of 10,000.
But not returning it is therefore then thievery.
Actually, if he were given the possibility of, I think, selling it off or whatever, thoda loss mein hota, but I guess he could have sold it off.
Yeah.
I think that. Yeah, that's the whole problem. I think Zeroth is asking an interesting question. Subrata Roy's fault. First, explain what was Subrata. I think Subrata Roy made a different kind of mistake than Vijay Mallya. Vijay Mallya wanted to run a legit airline thing, which was kind of a problem. Okay, which did not work. Like many businesses don't run. Vijay Mallya's did not run. It just, my and your taxpayers' money did not need to fund Vijay Mallya's business. Okay. If it were a private bank, I don't think they would have even given that loan. Okay. It was up to some Congress people who gave that loan.
Oh,
And then I am not saying this. The NPA argument has recently been said by our
acha,
greatest RBI governor Raghuram Rajan, who said
acha.
NPAs were created by Congress majorly. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
now Ravi is angry because I am
Hmm.
defending Vijay Mallya. I am not
Hmm.
defending anyone. I am just saying that the system, I don't see what his fault was. He asked for a loan, and some dude in the Congress party gave him the loan because he's
Hmm.
friends with him, not based on the merits or demerits of the actual business.
Hmm.
That's why I'm saying that a private bank would not have given him the loan. If banks were
Hmm.
privatized, all banks were privatized and not nationalized, and bank babus were not appointed at the whims and fancies of the government
Hmm.
based on their own corrupt policies,
Hmm.
then I don't think Vijay Mallya type of problems would have even happened. Itna NPA hi nahi hota.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Having said that,
Hmm.
yeah, where was I? Abhe, acha, Ravi is making an important point here. Don't pay taxes and cry about underdeveloped country. So
Hmm.
you're saying that because, but we pay taxes. A lot of us, I think everyone here is a taxpayer almost.
We need to
So,
pay a little more, and then everything will be all right.
हाँ ठीक है ठीक है. I agree. Totally nice points. Nice points. So
No, you see, we could make an entire evening out of debating Ravi, but the fun parts are that so far he's not updating his arguments anymore in the last 5-10 minutes, because all his arguments come down to the Bhalokaku argument, because he's saying that since we are opposed to tax paying, we are going to prevent all the development that our country is going through, but also the taxes our ancestors have paid since 47 to 2014 and stuff, all those went to waste, and our ancestors should have paid those taxes as well for that insane amounts of development that our country saw from 47 to 2014, or even from 47 to 1991. Or was it a libertarian state back then, and therefore our development stopped? We didn't pay any taxes. That's why we were poor up until
Anand Sridhar
1991.
has a good point here. It could have
Yeah.
happened. Look at the
Wait,
subprime.
one moment. Because Ravi has gone on to give more arguments, which all come down to boil down to only the Bhalokaku argument, and therefore I think we can now move on from Ravi, because he's not moving on from the Bhalokaku argument. See, competition is in business is good, but we need to have total Hindutva control over state and country, which will only happen when he has a Bharosemand Bhalokaku of his choice, not all of the other Hindutva's choice, not definitely all the choice
Yeah.
of the rest of the country. His specific Bhalokaku will come to power and then solve all his problems. Okay, now moving on.
अच्छा कोई गाली मत दो भाई ऐसा नहीं करते हैं okay I think Anand Sridhar has a very good point here and let's actually collectively bash Anand Sridhar now so
Which one? Night could have happened, or which one?
yeah
Night could have happened. Okay.
yeah so what Anand Sridhar is saying is ki when I said that private banks won't give Vijay Mallya loans then he's saying that कि हाँ private banks तो US में loan दिए थे they gave loans to subprime mortgages and then the whole system got bloated up and it created that thing but what I
have to remind people and prerequisite this point by reminding people that those loans were given in the first place because Bill Clinton wanted to show off how much more housing the poor people got in his tenure, and he was hoping to stay on as president. So as a sort of a part of a push from the government side, saying to the private banks, saying that please do give more loans and forget even if that person can pay those loans back or not. And then those loans were not paid back, and therefore the crisis happened. If those loans were in fact paid back, or if loans were given to only people who could have paid back, then that crisis would not have happened. But they went ahead and gave those loans in the first place because the government pushed them, nudged them to give those loans, to give off bloated numbers in their housing statistics, that see so many poor people and homeless people are now homeowners. The problem was created by the government itself.
No, and on top of that, what made it even worse was their bailing out of these big banks. They shouldn't have bailed out these big banks.
Absolutely.
They used taxpayer money to again. So ये तो government का ही fault था ना. If they didn't bail them out, the banks wouldn't have repeated these kind of scams more. But they see, it's like a repeat offender thing, and bureaucrats start like that. Okay, guys, watch a very good movie on Geo Cinema called Bad Education. Okay. It's about how government funds were misappropriated by funding was misappropriated by a school principal and his colleagues. or America mein that's like millions. So and it ran really well, like the school was running quite well in terms of results and stuff, right? But the whole point here is that when you have a bloated bureaucracy or bloated system and it collapses, you should allow it to collapse. That is the whole point of this whole thing. If we're going to kind of keep pushing for a certain kind of protectionist attitude, that is when people get dependent heavily on the state and other kinds of things or messiahs, and that's when the whole problem starts all over again. Which is why you see Hindutva people are never happy, because we are waiting for the messiah to come always. One messiah we thought came, and then the messiah did not deliver, and then another messiah will come and he will deliver, and then even he doesn't deliver. Aise hote it will never end. Because we are expecting the guy to ascend to the level of government and then do something. The discourse at the ground doesn't change. That is the main other problem. And the biggest issue here is that because our civil laws based on religion are completely screwed against us, all the laws are against us, because we empowered the state. Now we are facing the biggest issues. The Atul Subhash case happened precisely because the state was given way too much power to determine the fate of married couples. Okay, Islam did not allow that, and they have a higher TFR now. Now all of you, the so-called the Hindu guys who are all for Hindu state control, you will have to agree that it's kind of like the laws right now are totally biased against us, and nobody's going to change it, because aise hi ho gaya hai. People see the women as a vote bank, and they are going on giving more and more concessions to them, because they are using everyone's dependent on the state. We are dependent on it, but Muslims aren't. They have their own. All their civil laws are based on their religious attitudes, their religious bodies.
And then of course the counter argument becomes that why aren't we as religious as them? But then we forget that their religiosity also is also incentivized by our taxes. They get to go to Hajj and stuff. Their madrasas are free, paid for by us. तब सब कैसे चलेगा एक साथ? Now, hello.
Let's move on.
So the small debate we had between the people we were traveling with on the day we went to watch the play, when I was bringing out the argument of outsourcing our brains to the government, because this is going to be a segue to the private education matter. So you are repeatedly saying that we are asking the state to step in and do stuff for us. There we can go on asking this question: what happens when the bad guy comes to power? And nobody seems to even approaching this question. So could you just here are two questions for you specifically. Okay, first question is that once and for all, at least for today's live stream, say is there any way to prevent the bad guy from coming to power and him doing all bad stuff with the concentrated gigantic state power? Or is that really a good argument at all even? Because what if we don't do stuff that we want to have and actually push some hypothetical good guy Bhalokaku to come to power and do stuff for us, because the bad guy comes to power and maybe concentrates power in his hands and fucks us anyway? These are the first two questions. This is the first question. Okay, should we move on from the Bhalokaku argument, or do stuff with our own Bhalokaku and hope to do stuff with our own Bhalokaku, because the non-Bhalokaku is going to come and fuck us anyway? Or should we now remind people the repercussions of a society, repercussions of the impacts on a society who outsources all of their thinking, all sorts of thinking, critical thinking, business thinking, educational thinking, etc., scientific thinking, to the state? What are the repercussions of such a society? Isn't that also very, very disastrous? And haven't we done that to a large extent already? And aren't we seeing the repercussions of that already?
No, so this argument that if the bad guy comes and what about the best thing we can do is do as much as we can while our good guy is there. I think the fundamental flaw is in the problem that we gave the state too much power, but took away its so here's the problem. I think Max Weber hit it really well there, that he spoke of the bureaucracy as a kind of permanent state.
Exactly.
Matlab, if your elected leaders can come and go every 5-10 years, whatever, but the bureaucrats who are in power, they are in power forever almost, and they train the younger bureaucrats to do the same things that they did. The bureaucracy runs the country. It is not necessarily the politicians. So the Bhalokaku argument does not necessarily even work beyond a point here. And what happens is, it is this bloated state power, the bureaucracy, that has overarching power of anytime, screwing with your life or doing whatever they want. You see, like, there are hundreds of movies on, and movies chodo, there are hundreds of reality cases where the police and all these bureaucrats have done atrocious things to people, right? And
Yeah.
majorly it has been our community that has been on the receiving end of this thing. So the problem here is that if you do not have a militia kind of power, and when I say militia, I'm not saying everyone arm themselves, I'm saying that, and even if that is the case, that is different, but I'm saying that if you do not have the capacity to protect your own community from state power in your own
Or
way, that,
people who are friends with state power.
yeah, then you cannot survive beyond a certain point. What that makes you is weak. Look at, see, one thing you have to learn from Muslims, even now, despite BJP coming to power for 10 years, BJP is afraid to do a lot of things that may diminish their religious interests, right? That's because they as a community do not see. You might think that they depend on the state. They don't depend on that. Is the power that they have, that they do not depend on the state for their religious freedoms. Okay, they manage to get that freedom despite the state.
Yeah,
That
there
is
are
where
middlemen
they
who
surrendered
on
it.
whom they
They
depend.
did not.
Yeah.
हाँ, मतलब देखो, हज 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 बंद कर दो, ये कर दो, वो कर दो, मैंने हज सब्सिडी बंद कर दो, ये कर दो, सब ठीक है. I understand that logic, but it is in spite of the state power. That's what I'm arguing. Like, they don't, like, the state will ideally tell them, भाई तुम लोग इतना वो जो CA पास हुआ है, don't destroy stuff. So they won't listen to the state. They don't wait for the state to tell them what is good or bad for them to go out on the street. ये street power भी जो हम लोग बोलते हैं ना बार बार, जो होता नहीं है हिंदुओं में, that is possible because these guys are not dependent on. We are heavily dependent on the state for everything.
Yeah.
And we have become weak as a result.
The state
Which is
has
why-
empowered them to that extent that even if they are theoretically or financially dependent
So
for some
this works
stuff,
both ways, because they were
yeah,
independent of the state to some extent, that the state kept, like, it's like that girl who keeps not ignoring that guy, and the guy keeps simping for her. Okay, but the girl he got, जो होता है
Yeah.
movies में, the girl he wants is somebody who doesn't pay attention to him, and the girl who's been with him all the while, he treats her like shit. Okay, so that is the state of the Indian state. That the community that has always stuck with the state, that has been the most nationalist, gets screwed because it has always been by default with the state. And now the communities that don't give a shit about the state have power independent of their of the state's whatever.
Views.
Those communities are the state simps behind those communities the most. Okay, so you have to develop power irrespective. So state control karenge, that should not be your highest aspiration, because that is our highest aspiration that we are suffering till now. Because there will
that is
never.
that is the second part of the question. What are the repercussions of the impacts on such a society who outsources all of their thinking, brain activity to the state? And is that one of the reasons why everyone wants to be a teacher in Bengal?
Precisely. And see, the when you outsource the every aspect of policy making and the everything, right, to the state, including how you should live your life, how many kids you should have, what you should eat, do, think, sleep, how what books you should read, whatever. If everything is left to the state, what you do is you surrender all your rights, and in a way rights, when you say that the state gives me rights, you are also saying that the state can take it away whenever it wants.
Yeah.
When the state,
Now,
God giveth and the Lord taketh away, it is the same concept.
Exactly.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Those communities,
Now
they don't depend on anyone. That is their power.
Yeah. Now we'll take the perfect segue with the help of Buddhadev's question here. But again, just to touch upon this for the last time, with an insane comment from Ravi saying that in Kautilya days, king used to own whole kingdom, control everything. Zeroth is pointing out, never did they own anything. Had it been true, Dhananand would be openly stealing the salary of his ministers and army, etc. They think ancient India was a centralized, hardcore power. Oh my
Matlab, nobody
god!
heard of those guys called the Guptas, right? The most decentralized yet most
What Ravi
prosperous,
said here,
efficient state in the world. The Mauryan
this is
Empire
only
did not last because of that. The Gupta Empire also did not last. I'm not saying that, but the model followed by the Gupta Empire saved Hindu culture, by the way.
no, in
Because it was
general.
very decentralized.
In general, everyone except Ashoka, more or less, was very decentralized. This couldn't be, I mean, the stuff that Ravi just said here is only found in Hindu comic books and animated movies and stuff. It was not at all like that. It was not at all a king-dependent, king-centered society, okay? Yeah, when a king gets defeated, if an insanely, exceptionally bad Hindu king comes to power, only then the society goes to hell completely.
ये कहाँ से आते हैं ये लोग? How shameless you guys are. Oh God, just leave if you feel bad. Okay, anyway, let's move on.
Yeah.
God,
So,
get stop being so emotional, bro. Seriously, stop being such a simp. Anyway, move on. Whatever. Simp, whatever Gen Z calls losers.
yeah, insane. Every historian will agree that in terms of the lives of the general masses, they never gave a shit until the Mughals came about. They never gave a shit about who is the king, because life went about in its own way. There used to be one specific field reserved for fighting. The battle used to take place in that field. The battle used to happen. The defeated party went home. There were some compensation taken, and life for the people on the ground went about in the same way. People who were in one profession stayed in that same profession, but that was the point of the caste. Because of those so many jatis, a decentralized society was possible. How was going to be a centralized society?
That's why no matter which motherfucker came in the throne of Delhi, we still survived because of the highly decentralized nature of Brahmin land grants and the highly decentralized nature of the states. Because of that, centralized hote na khatam ho jate aaj tak.
Yeah, that's why everywhere everything else failed, because there was not such decentralization as in the case of India, bhai. So anyway, let's take Buddhadev's brilliant question here. Is change possible if change is possible in Vietnam, Poland?
You didn't highlight it.
Yeah, I'm not highlighting it because there's an order of questions I want to take from Tenoheka Bazi's comment as well. So we'll just start from Buddhadev's comment here. That larger question is, if change is possible in Vietnam, Poland, which were former commie countries, why is it not possible in India? The changing of the mind part. Because see, Poland though became a truly free market sort of a country, but Vietnam did it with the power of force only, like Lee Kuan Yew. Now, what's your opinion on in India's context or even West Bengal's context? Can we do it here by changing minds?
No, the biggest issue with if you trying to replicate a Singapore or a Vietnam is the population and the size of the state is so small that the government can do, and again there's a bhalo kaku argument here. Lee Kuan Yew या कोई एक for China Deng Xiaoping या ऐसा कोई आ जाता है, so there is development. If China continued with Mao's policies beyond the 80s, ये China जो भी जितना भी सुपर पावर है, China का कुछ नहीं रहता. Deng Xiaoping married Maoist socialism with American capitalism and did some all jhol jhal whatever, and he messed it up also in the long run. But कुछ जो जितना भी power है China के पास, it's because of Deng Xiaoping's like unholy alliance of American capitalism with Chinese socialism. Now coming to Vietnam or Singapore, while there are like again some of them have the Chinese model in a certain way, and Singapore has a very different. See, Lee Kuan Yew was a very good leader, but he was more like a mayor. If you think of Lee Kuan Yew's actual power, he was like a very efficient mayor.
He was a bhalo kaku running a city.
Yeah, he is like Calcutta's mayor used to be Subhash Chandra Bose. So imagine if Subhash Chandra Bose was the mayor right now, Calcutta would be a well-run city and all. जो भी अभी फिरा था कि मैं so देख लो क्या होता है. So that is the whole argument behind this whole thing, right? That if you have a bhalo kaku, so it worked. That guy put. Another thing is, He was the founding father of the nation, so he could do whatever the hell he wanted at that time. Lee Kuan Yew. So he built the constitution such that, or देखो Lee Kuan Yew का एक चीज I've heard, and it's I think it's a very good thing. He mandated voting, like पूरा necessary. He made voting absolutely mandatory. Okay, so if you don't vote in Singapore, you have to pay whatever, I think 30,000 rupees equivalent or something, 40,000 rupees the
Acha.
equivalent. So and Singaporean citizens who live abroad, they have to go to their embassy and vote or whatever. And ये सब system था. यहाँ पे करने जाते ना पूरा बवाल हो जाता, because the main problem is that, and again the bribery system would continue, but in Singapore you can enforce it, right? Because it's again just a city. You cannot compare a 140 crore wala population country with
that kind of centralization,
50 lakhs or 60 lakhs wala population ka country.
वो
होता नहीं, it's impossible.
You have to imagine a state like a circle, because the head of the nation is still one guy, no matter how big the state. So one guy handling 50 lakh people and one guy handling 140 crore people is not the same, and their powers can't be the same, and their way of running things can't be the same. The size is different. His distance from all his people is different. So let's take the segue to
Ravi. Anyway, this guy's.
So his contributions were great. He was playing the devil's advocate, maybe because he's the devil himself, but at least we got to clear out all the arguments. I didn't have to give those devil's advocate arguments. I was going to give them anyway. So this was nice. He helped my case. So we are going to now discuss private education, but let's begin with this question: that can Sanjeev Sanyal even bring about a Doge-like reform in India, the Department of Government Efficiency, and can MSP be reduced and stuff? Let's answer it in both ways. Should it be, and can it be?
Should it be? Yeah, for sure. I'd love to. But can it be? I doubt it. By elections here are run by bureaucrats, okay? And essentially the whole show is run by bureaucrats, whether you like it or not. And West Bengal is a glaring example of where bureaucrats run everything, almost every aspect of every part of people's lives. So let's say you do a Doge thing, so soch lo ki people who have been in power for 40-50 years now, they will suddenly not cede power to a guy who came from outside and just started doing reforms. Maybe in the US it is possible, but here to definitely no.
Even in the US it's not possible, which is why Trump had to hire so many people he doesn't agree with.
Precisely.
But with such a landmark victory, he can, I guess. But Abhijit Mitra, by the way, guys, check out a nice new podcast run by a Gujarati guy, Gujarati kid. So even Gujaratis are beating Bengalis in discourse making now. Although, a large part of comedy discourse is by Bengalis, so it's fair game. So one new young Gujarati guy has created a podcast called Indic Diaries. So Abhijit Mitra came on that podcast yesterday. There Abhijit Mitra was saying that this specific problem that you are talking about, that chalo abhi election cycle hai, because you see, remember, in every Hindi movie, every Bollywood movie, if there's a politician being shown, the one recurring dialogue is that election sar pe hai. So forever election sar pe hi rehta hai hamara. And therefore you can't do anything. Either you are a fucking socialist and you don't want to do anything, or you can be a libertarian and pretend to not, or you don't have to do anything because you have the excuse of election sar pe hai. And especially with the insane voter base that BJP has, of people who claim to be libertarians, claim to be free market, but also defend Modi when he does the opposite of that, because bichara Narendra Modi, the most powerful guy in South Asia, he has to stay in power somehow. So you see, please have some sympathy for that innocent, cute little guy.
It was Ranchod. In the middle, it was Ranchod. So whenever he walked away from something, they're like, yes, Sri Krishna walked away once, so Modi can walk away every time. War mein nahi jane ka. Very bad.
Because all I'm saying is that you guys on the YouTube comment section, you are not running the country. You are a voter base. You are a pressure group. You are a voting bloc. Act like it. Say what you think is right or wrong. Don't fucking say what is feasible. लौड़े आगे अगर पत्थरबाज feasibility लेके मतलब चलते तो कहाँ रहते वो लोग? उन्होंने क्या सोचा था कि हाँ, I think patharbazi might not be possible in India because it's a country of 80% Hindus. They said no, patharbazi is a morally correct thing to do, therefore we'll do it. The state will accommodate us. So see, whenever we get into these discussions, people obviously will question our intentions and think that we hate BJP and Narendra Modi with all our guts, and we maybe secretly want someone else to come to power. No, let's get one thing clear. Do I think Narendra Modi is the best prime minister we've had till date in India, in independent India? I say yes. Do you agree, Mr.
Yeah, yeah,
Sociologist?
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So if we have got that clear,
There goes my
moving on
academic
from there.
completely.
So now starting from this premise, he is the best one so far we've had.
Yeah.
So after that, why do we need to pretend to be like the finance minister, pretend to be like the geopolitics guy? Why can't we pressure them to do the things we think are right? Why do we have to consider their problems? Because if that guy is really the best prime minister we've had so far, and we agree that there are some things he wanted to do and was able to do, there are some things he wanted to do and wasn't able to do, is that a statement we all of us agree with also?
I think so.
We agree, right? Yeah.
But
so again, then taking this second premise as well, if those things that he wanted to do but he wasn't able to do, what was the thing that prevented him from doing it? Because there was another voter base, both in terms of culture and economics, who prevented him from doing those things, right? Because that voter base, that voting bloc said, this is what we think is right and we will want this thing to happen. On the other hand, our side is saying, yes, we think X is right, but we don't think X is possible, therefore let's not push our guy into doing it. What the fuck? What the fuck is that argument?
and I think Navavimash asked a good question there earlier. That incremental change hoga ki matlab we should dekho. I think he even donated $200 to West Bengal's GDP, and this one. So the amount of revenue your podcast is generating is the highest revenue any Bengali business generates at this point. So you are the biggest Bengali entrepreneur today. Okay. So anyway, BJP's policy of incremental gradual change in the Indian system is a mistake or good sustainable strategy independent of who is in power. I think.
Please hold your thought. Please hold your thought. Let me answer it first because I'll forget my answer. Whatever stuff he wants to do, there are some people he meets with in his circle or in the entire geopolitical scenario where he has to negotiate based on what are the pressures on him. The pressures on him from the Hindutva side are temple freedom to some extent and reservations to a large extent. That's all. There is no pressure on him to do pro free market stuff, because the only pro free market guys, we are in a very small minority anyway. Even in that section, most of us are saying that it's not feasible for that cute little guy who's the most powerful man in South Asia. He won't be able to do it. So let's not hurt him or abuse him or criticize him. Therefore, he is not having to do those things. He'll have to do those things once he negotiates with the other side of the table and says, see, both of us want me to stay in power, right? So if I have to stay in power, these are the things I have to do. There are some non-negotiables. Our non-negotiables have to include pro-free market things. Now your answer.
Yeah, so I would say something very similar. I would say that, at some level, a gradual incremental change. See, I share if I say I shared some aspect of something with Ravi, he'll go all berserk and all. But I still say whoever he is, the point here I'm trying to say is I share his sense of urgency. But I think that the solutions we're thinking of right now are problematic. When it comes to gradual change or kab hoga or nahi hoga, the bigger problem is that whether we who are also Indian citizens and who have a certain understanding of things are allowed to voice our concerns within this space. Okay, and how it can improve this space, because let's face one thing, whether we agree or not, the farm laws, if they would have happened, I think we all might agree that the farm laws would have been better for the country as a whole. Okay, but it did not happen, and everyone started justifying why it didn't happen or shouldn't happen or
Yeah.
whatever.
Hmm.
Now, as a citizen of this country, we can demand that farm laws should happen, and one certain upper caste of Punjabis, Sikhs, they are holding the whole country hostage based on their privileges that they have. That cannot be the basis of policy. A few groups of dominant castes cannot control the whole country's policy, right? And
And they are not thinking you about feasibility.
हाँ, they उनके लिए they don't see, like we're saying, continuously arguing, and some idiots won't understand, is that it's the people who are winning right now in Indian discourse, in the Indian political discourse, are precisely the ones who are behaving in the most libertarian manner. Okay, irrespective of the state's existence or whatever, they are holding the state hostage. Now you might think that is contradictory, because the guys who head up
Libertarian for some, libertarian for me, not for thee. That's the problem.
exactly, so they want, like, their manner of behavior is to not negotiate with the state. They are holding the state hostage.
Yeah.
That is the idea behind the basic idea behind what we are saying. Don't hold the state hostage, but yeah, bring a strong negotiating arm to the table. Okay, they are not waiting like us for kab hoga. They are enforcing their views. Now we have to counter enforce it in our own ways. Now, of course, we cannot do what they are doing, but we have to talk about it. We have to build that narrative. We have to put that pressure.
Yeah.
And precisely
Ravi,
because we are over independent on the state, that we cannot do it.
Ravi, China cruises allegedly. First of all, because it's a racially, culturally, religiously homogeneous country. You can't do that in India. It can never happen. Never say never, but at least then pretend to have homogenized India. हिंदुइज्म को लाउरे कोई होमोजेनाइज नहीं कर पाया आज तक. तुम हिंदुइज्म को पहले होमोजेनाइज करोगे, फिर कंट्री को होमोजेनाइज करोगे, उसके बाद कोई तुम्हारा भालो का कू आएगा, फिर वो चाइना की तरह चलाएगा इसको. ये 4 insane hypotheticals है for your imaginary dreams to come true. Anyway,
no, and,
so
and the worst part
on.
is what type of China? The same China that told its citizens not to have more than one kid. You want that reality to happen in India to the Hindu community?
Yeah, because they might be running. Yeah.
देखो स्टेट कंट्रोल दे दिया ना आधा, तो उससे तो यही हो रहा है ना. Look at the countries that have the higher, which communities and which communities have the highest TFR. Then look at them and look at how they are dependent on the state, or whether they are not dependent on the state, or whether they hold the state hostage. That is the main issue. Okay, Chanakya, I cannot comment much because I haven't actually read Chanakya in original. I have read about Chanakya's policies. I don't know. But can I say something? Can we...
was he pro-centralization? Why is a strong state, whatever the size of state, strong state doesn't mean centralization. Centralization means big state. So see, if we don't say that doing libertarianism would right now be eliminating the Indian state completely, and therefore Rahul Gandhi is a fucking libertarian now, and all of us get divided into different groups of people who run everything on private property, private security, etc. What I'm asking for. I'm saying if the state at all exists, it's only for protecting life, liberty, and property, and that has to be done properly. Nothing other than merit or protection, real protection of life can come to question. Like it's coming into question all the time now. Why isn't life, not liberty, not life, liberty, and property being protected right now? Because everything is being run on the opposite of merit. Everything is being run on contacts. Okay, so Chanakya did not want a state of this sort. So yeah, anyway, go on with your answer.
No, and the bigger aspect is property is not safe under the state. The state can take your property.
Oh my God. I have to, this is the last question we are going to take from Ravi today, but Hindu state will increase Hindu TFR. So women are going to have sex with bureaucrats and the prime minister. Okay.
Sorry, bro, you are not contributing either way. So let it be. Yeah. So, not with that attitude. Anyway.
Yeah. Moving on from Ravi today. We'll take his questions the next day again.
Bahut ho gaya, bhai. Thanks for increasing my BP. ये ठंड में भी गर्मी का एहसास, because I'm getting angry. So anyway, so the point
Yeah.
is that भाई क्या
Yeah, ignore the
anyway,
comment section now.
yeah, let me ignore these Anand Sridhar type people. Anyway,
मुझको
so
क्यों पेला?
Anand, these are favorite punching bag today. So my point is that it's not even I see this hangover on Chanakya, and it's not because I personally did not read Chanakya yet in original, but इसमें भी थोड़ा मेसाया कॉम्प्लेक्स दिखता है मेरे को. मतलब I see that whatever Chanakya did was right. I maybe he was a great thinker. I have not read him in original, so I cannot comment on exactly what he said and did and wanted. And there are theories as to why Chanakya may not have been a real character also. But anyway, I won't go into that. But उसमें आएंगे तो अब अभी मुझे क्या क्या करेंगे लोग. Now my point is that this the Chanakya thing, I don't know why we need some kind of zero, good point. Why we need some kind of a kind of legitimizer of our ideas now in the past. I've never
That's
understood
a larger debate. Yeah.
But this harkens back to the problem that I would urge all of you guys to read this guy called Lardinois. Okay, Richard Lardinois. He has these books on Dumo. Now we all agree that Dumo very badly mischaracterized the Indian caste system, right? Now his guru, like the guy, not guru per se, like the guy who was really informed Dumo, was a guy who used to say everything is in the Vedas. Okay. And he totally mischaracterized Indian, like he said the Brahmins are totally powerful people and all. So wahi acha hai and all that shit. Okay. Brahmin deep state wala concept unhone hi banaya tha, by the way.
Yeah.
Because everything is in the Vedas. Now I am not saying, again, don't get angry at me because I say all this. I am just saying that if an idea is good, it does not necessarily need to be represented in the past. A good idea is a good idea. Having said that, I think that under the Guptas and their decentralized kind of state and structure and all that, it was perhaps one of the most prosperous states for a reason, that people were free to pursue their vocation and all that. Like whatever they wanted, they could do, and there was profit and there was money and wealth in India because of that. And that argument I think is a good starting point for us. Having said that, the Chanakya leke, there are some doubts, and I don't want to go into that. Honestly, I think maybe Chanakya was a great, if you believe that he existed, perhaps he was a great guy. But I think that the important point we're trying to make here, or at least I am trying to make, is that it does not need to be existent in the past for us to follow something. And sometimes, like I've said, that our scriptures, our epics, the worst guys were Duryodhan, let's say who is one of the worst people in the Mahabharata, Dushasan, Duryodhan, these kind of people, or Shakuni or whatever. Even they got punished for doing unethical stuff. They got punished for disturbing a woman. They got punished for plotting against their family and all that. They got punished for doing adharma. But our present scenario is one where people, you guys are talking about, not me, I'm a nice guy. You guys are talking about there, wahan pe killing people is sometimes incentivized. Sometimes na, matlab, it is incentivized, killing people of other cultures.
It's morality for them.
It's morality. So sometimes, the old ways don't work necessarily. Matlab, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam does not work sometimes. Okay. So by the same logic, I'm saying that maybe, see, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is a great idea, but I'm saying that sometimes it needs to be limited. Matlab, past mein hai to theek hai, aisa koi concept humko, I think we are limited when we think in that sense.
Because after all, it will come down to how we interpret the past. Because like I was mentioning a few months back in a live stream, that whatever is the current discourse in the world, whatever is cool or seemingly, let's say, in agreement with your views, that you try to extrapolate on everything. तो पहले सब लोगों को लगा Ambedkar was appropriated by one group, now Ambedkar is being appropriated by another group. Maybe in the yesteryears, like Dharampal, he uses
Precisely.
Gandhi to sell ideas that today are Hindutvadi, even though every Hindutvadi in the country hates Gandhi. How is that even possible? So I am obviously reading into Arthashastra my views on the economy, and I'm finding only pro free market arguments. Dharmasya moolam arthya. Always be let's say worried about the bureaucrats stealing money. So if a guy who was saying that always remember that just like a fish, you never find out when a fish drinks water, you'll never find out when a bureaucrat steals money. How was that guy saying that yes, let's have more bureaucrats on whom we have to treat him like a fish? That guy was saying, yes, let's have gigantic state power. And more importantly, we can never get to the real truth of that situation, because Chanakya was not the only economist in our history, bhai. That Arthashastra is the only book that survived. Even Arthashastra was disappeared, right? It was lost. It was found out only 1901 or 1904. Okay. Before that, we were finding citations from Arthashastra in other texts. Even in Arthashastra, the other people he has cited, other gurus, वो books तो है ही नहीं. So how do we know there weren't more free market guys in our past? How do we know that?
We had the highest per capita GDP in the world at that point. So I'm sure that there were other guys who had the time and resources to write books and treatises and do debates and stuff, what we're doing right now, right? So I'm pretty sure there were a lot of creative people back then who wrote other kinds of treatises on how to run the country.
Yes.
This is a survival, this is a bias of jo survive kiya wahi best hai, that kind of
exactly thing. Yeah, and specifically the only one who survived in 1904. All else is unimportant. So if we are supposed to only look at ancient texts written by Hindu people, why not the other ones that Chanakya was debunking? Why Chanakya then? Chanakya was going on giving citations and saying, see, this is what this guru has said, and I think this is an absolutely wrong view. Here's my view. Why do we then pick Chanakya specifically? Because that's the only one which survived. What kind of argument is that? So should education be privatized? Because this is something with which a lot of libertarians also disagree with, apparently. I think at least some in our comment section. And then we'll get to the reservation question as well, because there's a famous Hindutvadi libertarian who also says that reservations should stay. First private education, then after an hour or so or half an hour, we'll get to reservations.
Let's keep that to maybe 15 minutes or so. Huh? So anyway,
okay. Old people. Yeah.
So anyway, no, I have a life unlike you. So
yeah.
Anyway, let's get to it. Dekho, education, right? I have seen, if you guys tune in the news regarding West Bengal's education system right now.
System. Is that even a system?
वो तो है ही भाई, सिस्टम ही तो है ना, वही तो प्रॉब्लम है ना. So see how West Bengal में the schools have one of the highest dropout rates in the country. One of the highest, not the highest. Bihar has the highest dropout rate in the country.
Even Mark Zuckerberg dropped out. Even Bill Gates dropped out. So what?
वो तो है. And stop disturbing me with those stupid. They dropped out of Harvard, not dropped out of I don't know, Tiljana High School. Okay, so my point is that वो logic छोड़ो भाई. West Bengal में government schools have one of the highest dropout rates, and what is happening is that the colleges here, they are also having very low seats filled. Even IITs nowadays are having crisis of admissions. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that the government system that we are paying for, the crores and crores of rupees, एक तो छोड़ो bureaucrats को ऐसे ही पैसा दे देता है चिल मारने के लिए, उसके ऊपर से टीचर और प्रोफेसर को भी बहुत पैसे दे देता है चिल मारने के लिए.
Okay. Many schools are closing down just because there aren't enough recruitments. Promoter को दे दिया, building बन गया, flat बन गया, government school के
वो है, or they are not even so even if you, let's say, hire a lot of teachers, let's say you are a great government and you love people and you hire hundreds of teachers who are being paid for by the taxpayer, even then what's happening is not a lot of them are at the giving you the life skills that you need to survive in this kind of economy, right? Economic progress to chahiye na, but you are not getting that kind of knowledge anymore. What they learned was in the 80s, so you're not going to be able to use that. Chat GPT तो नहीं सिखा रहा है तुमको, prompt engineering तो नहीं सिखा रहा है. So what's happening is these government schools are basically becoming useless, government schools and colleges. But the amount of money that are being spent to run these institutions is crazy insane.
Then
Huh?
people will say, so now teach AI. The guy who passed out of a government school himself or herself 50 years back is going to teach AI to a guy
Yeah.
who is on Instagram all day.
And the worst part is, I've seen the bureaucracy up close, which and the teachers are also part of that bureaucracy in many ways. So you don't get incentives for teaching better. You don't get incentives for being a better teacher in the government.
Yeah,
You don't
it's the
even get
same.
decent.
Whether you teach,
Even if you're corrupt, you don't get any punishment also. So there is
yeah,
no incentive or no punishment.
yeah.
Okay.
Bad behavior is not disincentivized. Good behavior is not incentivized. It's the worst of all worlds.
Yeah. And the worst part is they are not teaching STEM enough. That is even worse. When I see governments, at least in West Bengal, the government opens a bunch of schools and colleges. They teach subjects like sociology, history, philosophy, all this shit. Okay. Which are absolutely useless to most people. Okay. It is only for certain urban people that these are useful subjects who are from privileged backgrounds. बाकी हर जगह STEM and technical education सिखाना चाहिए. So
Yeah, to
that
be
if
specific,
at all, again,
you're talking about
and
the
the
college
worst,
education now.
exactly, now the worst part is that what I am saying is if you privatize there are possibilities of courses in these, like AI engineering is a big deal now. So AI engineering सिखाएंगे कुछ लोग and कुछ लोग पैसा देके सीखेंगे. Okay, what the government has done is it has created such crazy standards for private schools to do well. Matlab only a few private schools can excel, and these are run by like certain conglomerates. Okay, so you have limited the access of people to education by limiting private investment in education. Okay, on top of that, the government is a player, so you are actually kind of using taxpayers money to dole out useless degrees, because there's an inflation of degrees right now.
Yeah,
Everyone has a graduation. Like, no, graduations don't matter anymore in India because everyone's a
yeah,
graduate.
yeah.
Okay, even your auto wala, you will see, and you will notice this news articles. Ha, I did MCom and I'm still driving an auto. That's because
Mm.
MCom has no value anymore, because there's an inflation of degrees. Unless you get
Yeah.
it from a very top school, your MBA is also useless.
I once
Okay,
knew an electrician who was very bad at being an electrician who was a Sanskrit graduate.
ha,
ऐसे ग्रेजुएशन करना है कर लिया, उसको उसके टीचर को हमने सैलरी दिया, उसने इलेक्ट्रिशियन का काम भी ठीक से सीखा नहीं और संस्कृत प्रोफेसर भी नहीं बना और संस्कृत में
I
कुछ
see
किया
the
भी नहीं.
other problem, and honestly, this creates a sense of frustration among people who actually kind of hate on education because of this.
And they become a
The
statistic. They are the शिक्षितो बेकार.
Yeah, and that is the worst thing. See, in the developed countries, I doubt how many people even go into higher education in the local populace. How many people in the US go for a college education? They don't, most of them. I think majority of American people don't study after school.
Hmm.
Okay, that's because they go into technical lines and they earn much more. और वैसे
Yeah,
भी देखो, college is a scam in the US. वो तो दिख ही रहा है. मतलब you take a insane loan and you get screwed by the loan, and then
yeah.
you do a job which doesn't pay you enough, and then you get screwed.
And
So
that extra fees is not even for the professors; it's for the administrators and the DEI stuff.
it's for administrators, right? So the bigger issue here is that if there were a free market of education, then you could get your degrees that are like accreditations for your skills, and then you could work in companies and keep uh, like skilling up. You could upskill yourself based on available like good stuff, and your skills would be tested in the real world. But यहाँ पे ना real world testing हो रहा है, you're being taught a bunch of useless stuff, and then it doesn't work. Ultimately none of it
Yeah,
works.
our
uh,
our our government. Yeah, yeah, go on.
and the biggest example is West Bengal. Just Google West Bengal school, and just go on Google and type this and go for the news section. You will get all these central government ka reports where West Bengal, many schools are being run by one teacher or so. And the worst part is the recruitment process is totally corrupt. So now 26,000 school teachers might lose their jobs, which means 26,000 families might be bankrupt after a while.
Yeah,
All because
and
we depended on Bhalo Kakus to run the system, and they screwed us over.
yeah. And a lot of people among those 26,000 people were qualified. Some of them were not qualified. Some of them were qualified but still had to go through bad kakus. Or some of
Yeah.
them were not qualified and gave up all of their life savings to give as a bribe to get that job because there aren't other
Precisely.
jobs. So when Abhitar Mitra went on that Gujarati Kids podcast, Indic Diaries, there Abhitar Mitra pointed this out that even in Gujarat now, people are opting for desk jobs, service jobs. They are losing that animal spirit, creative destruction, entrepreneurial spirit even in Gujarat. तो गुजरात का भी टाइम आ रहा है, खराब टाइम आ रहा है शायद.
Ja.
Because
Then where do we get the? Should we like import people to export people to Gujarat, West Bengal?
no, we hope that Vivek is kicked out of USA. Buddha is saying, I have a question. If you believe it is not the state's duty to educate people, then how is it the state's duty to teach English at primary level? No, we are criticizing it for a different reason. That since you said that you want to run state-funded stuff, then why did you keep English away? And then, if you really hated English, you didn't let English. You didn't prevent English being taught at private schools, elite schools, when you knew that English was going to help kids get better jobs. So you made sure, you ensured a situation where only the richest and most elite families were able to afford English education, and therefore their elitism went on because they were the only kids who got jobs later in life and or got high paying jobs at least. Okay. If CPM didn't dismantled English education completely, then we would have no Abhijit Banerjee even, or no one in the state practically. Or if they had completely dismantled the state and all of a sudden became libertarians, or completely defunded state education and everyone was free to choose whether they went to a private Bengali school or a private English medium school, then our criticism would not stand here. We are saying that तुमने चलाया पहले state funded institution, फिर वहां पे corruption किया. That's the factor.
Precisely. I couldn't have answered it better, I think. And the worst part is that this is the best example. The CPIM and TMC are the best examples of how socialism leads to more cronyism. Cronyism to hai hi, but
Yes.
way more cronyism is because of this. The number of crappy English medium schools that opened because of CPIM's that one policy is
Yeah.
astounding.
Yeah.
And most
तो
of them are owned by Maos and certain leaders and stuff.
Yeah.
मतलब कोई free market उसमें भी नहीं है. पार्टी को जो पैसा दिया वही स्कूल खोला. So
yeah,
that is
and they didn't have affiliation for the longest time. By the time they got some affiliation from ISC board or CBSE board, people had passed out of their schools, learning nothing in those schools. So now, what about the fees of private schools, which are already insanely, mind-fuckingly high right now? How will people afford private education?
how will people afford?
It's not a rhetorical question. It's a debate.
No, my net was a bit okay. So how will people afford private education? Because the free market presents alternatives. If there's a true free market, if there is a demand in the market for जैसे देखो अभी foreign degrees का demand था ना, a lot, it's still there. So now what they're doing is they're providing online foreign degrees because they know that they know that bhai, you need to study. You don't need to be in the classroom in UK to get that knowledge. So you can do that.
Sanjeev Sanyal is big on this idea.
Yeah, and I don't see why, let's say, a Harvard professor cannot teach a course where Indian students or others can join, or ulta bhi ho sakta hai. Like if there's a good professor of India, he or she can teach students in the US or other countries, right? In Japan, China, wherever, I don't know where you can with technology. And that's the whole point. If there are क्या बोलते हैं, if there are alternatives, you don't give the alternatives. That's the other point. If there are alternatives, you will see more and more. If there's a demand, there will be a business. If there will be a demand, there will be a supply. That is the reality. But the government stays in between and says कि नहीं, ये demand ठीक नहीं है, और या ये supply ठीक नहीं है. It should be on our terms. The demand should be on our terms. The supply should be on our terms. And these are guys who don't understand the market well, and they don't need to. A politician does not need to care. A politician's skill set does not need to change. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Sharad Pawar. Sharad Pawar has been the same guy for ages now. Sharad Pawar did not need to. He has always done some kind of saudebazi with ruling parties and survived, right? So his skill set did not need to change. So he can appreciate a field where your skill sets need to change for you to do better in life. Okay, and that's the other thing of giving politicians that much power. And that is the biggest problem. And like I said, Google the dismal state of education in West Bengal, and you will understand precisely how socialism harms and why why a free market of private education would have been better, but it cannot be implemented considering that the state loves education. I don't know why, but the state, like when the love is too much na, पूरा एकदम जोर से पकड़ के रखते हैं. हाँ,
suffocating in love.
But they cannot also deal with this kind of world where you have YouTube for education. मतलब ये भी तो है ना, अभी तो for knowledge you don't need. So you guys remember Goodwill Hunting, right? What did Matt Damon say to the guy in the bar? That what you're studying, I can get for $2 in a public library or whatever, right? I can go to a library and learn the same shit as you. It's not a big deal about knowledge. You can get it from YouTube also these days. But so the main problem here is that the state does not need to involve itself so much in the education process. And if it let the temples take over the education process, it would have been better. But again, it has to be more libertarian than it is right now for the temples to take over education.
Yeah.
Usme bhi the temples had to kind of, when Ramakrishna Mission had to do so many deals just to run its few schools and colleges. They had to appease so many masters to do that. So this is the problem.
Yeah, and I would like to give my example here, not because I'm so cool, but because there are insane amounts of people like me in India who have learned complete sound engineering, music production, arrangement, music programming only from the internet. Okay, I learned sound engineering even though I was I never studied science. Okay, I took environmental science in class 9 and 10. Okay, I had the option in my school, in my ISC board school, to quit STEM completely. I had maths up until class 12 though. So, but I had I had some degree of interest in physics, but I was not allowed to because I really sucked at chemistry. So anyway, then after passing out from class 12, I take up sound engineering. I learned it in a tuition format from a person who is a very, very famous and pro sound engineer in Kolkata. And he had learned sound engineering also from SAI, School of Audio Engineering. Yeah, SAE Chennai. Okay. It gives out diplomas. There are no graduation degrees in sound engineering as of yet in India. SAE Mumbai, I think, is even more popular now. So when he did it, SAE Chennai was the only one who gave diplomas, and he said that he learned more from internet. The SAI diploma was only because he thought it would be something magnificent, and now it only hangs on his wall. He had to learn everything else on his own from the internet. Then I learned from him in a tuition way for 2 years, okay, going every other weekend. Then rest of it was research from internet and then asking other people, okay.
So can I ask you, just interject for a second and ask you a question? So this composer teacher of yours, this arranger teacher of yours, this person works on movies and other stuff, right? Songs and movies.
If you today approach him for a mix of your own song, you won't get his date for the next 5 months.
Okay, so that means he's successful.
Yeah,
right. That means that do the producers come and look at his degree and then decide to work with him, or is it his past record as a?
That's not how it works in the music industry, and that's why we have world-class music even today in India. We have always had that. Look at some of the productions we are doing. It's at par with so many Hollywood productions in the audio world. Okay, so
how a free market of skills works.
Yeah. And if you say that I had the privilege of going to that, maybe my parents were so privileged and I was so privileged that my parents were bold enough to send me to a weekend sound engineering school. But even then, So many people I know who didn't even take that sound engineering course. They just went to a sound engineering dada and followed him around in live concerts or in the studio, where they started doing everything from folding wires, and today they know everything about recording a band or mixing a piece of music or doing full-time music programming. Okay, that's how it works. Because even if you where do you get a degree in sound engineering, for example? In places like Berklee College of Music, the biggest places. Sid Sriram is a Berklee College of Music sound engineering graduate. Okay, so even they, when they get hired by big composers, they are not directly asked to do the mixing. If they get hired by a big studio, they'll still be asked to bring the coffee and be asked to fold the wires. Because let's say you just passed out from Berkeley, you still don't know how to handle the biggest artists in the world, because they don't know you, they can't have your faith, so you'll still have to work in that same way. So the Berkeley graduate, who obviously knows way more than somebody who is learning on his own maybe, but they have to go through the same process. And so many people who are not going to Berkeley are still ending up in such great spots. Is the world of music only being run by Berkeley grads? If not so, then internet is here for you, bro.
I don't think anyone gets A.R. Rahman's Berkeley degree for, kind of appointing.
A.R. Rahman got a honorary degree. He never went to such music schools. If there was a government music school for sound engineering or music production, then तो हो गया और हमारा टैक्स पेयर खत्म होता, लोग वहां पे जाके डिग्री लेके घूमते और हमारा मतलब ग्रेजुएट बेकार्स का स्टैटिस्टिक्स बढ़ता.
And precisely the point why education, and now some people might argue that in education itself, so why should the government fund arts subjects, right? The
why
government
English literature?
Don't even get me started on literature, okay? I love
the fuck
literature.
English literature? What the fuck?
I don't get it. Like, I saw this person doing a PhD on Allu Arjun movies or something. I was like, what the I was like, why? I mean, and this person gets like 50,000 a month from taxpayers' money, right? And that's the thing. Like, the governments, whatever the government of the day is, they think that these people will do propaganda for us. Okay. That's why they fund so many non-STEM subjects.
Yeah.
But the
Brahmin Bhojan.
But the truth is that in the post-internet world, in an internet penetrated world, these are being changed, to be very honest.
Yeah.
This is very different. And now I think more than a professor, I think for example Anand Ranganathan. So what Anand Ranganathan brings is best of both worlds. He has a PhD from Cambridge, and he is like, we talk sense, right? So he brings both of best of both worlds. That's therefore, and Anand Ranganathan impacts public perception much more than some random dude who did a PhD from Harvard or something. And
but only because of YouTube, only because capitalism
performance or some crap. Okay.
Yeah. So, but only because today capitalism gifted us YouTube.
वो भी है. Earlier, these people were the guys who wrote in Gonoshakti and destroyed people's minds and gave them socialist ideas and crap. But now there are different avenues to get ideas. So that idea of funding unnecessary arts and humanities subject is totally useless. Humanities and social sciences.
Yeah. And therefore, today there is such an amount of disruption.
When the government is involved, and this is something I've noticed more with the BJP, by the way, than Congress, a lot of stupid people become educators. I'm sorry to say, the BJP does not have the mental repository to take over the education system in the country. That's why the left has more. The left is more merit-oriented than BJP when it comes to education. And education will always be a highly elitist space. It will never not be a...
Especially social science and liberal arts education.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So therefore, to take over this space, the BJP is not equipped to take over this space, which is why it hasn't happened. And you cannot take over this space by appointing 100 idiots to 100 open seats in the, in the different universities. Because the quality is getting compromised. Like I said, an Anand Ranganathan is much more important for you than some random dude who who puts Modi ji's picture on his profile picture and thinks that will help him become a big BJP leader. Okay, and then who teaches in some college after he's appointed by the party. It doesn't work like that.
Now
It's a free market. Whether we like it or not, the world of ideas is a free market world.
Yeah, whether we like it or not, that's the reality. Now you pointed out that government funds such many useless subjects in the college level. What would be your complaints about the government schools?
Oh, the government schools are horrible. Like
isn't that required?
Matlab,
why are they horrible? Why isn't our Bhalokaku being able to turn them into good schools?
No, because the teachers have no. देखो teacher का भी दोष नहीं है पूरा. The teachers are, like I said, the teachers are there to earn their daily income and then do tuitions on the side. हाँ. तो टीचर पढ़ाएगा क्यों? उसका तो इंसेंटिव आ रहा है प्राइवेट ट्यूशन से, which is a private industry again. Okay. ये देखो. Second point है कि the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan is absolutely stupid. Okay.
Yes.
You cannot force people to come to school and enjoy school. That is like that's the stupidest idea ever. Like that's like putting a guy in jail and telling him, "Bhai, abhi tu jail enjoy kar. बहुत अच्छा जगह है."
Yeah.
You cannot. I mean, that's why Manmohan Singh or somebody came up with the idea of putting eggs in the meal of children and then they'll come to school for the eggs. Bro, they're coming for the eggs. They're not coming for the education.
That has always been the case.
The Sarva Shiksha Abhijan, I'll tell you what that was. It is a scam on the taxpayer, okay, to fund party cadres who will become professors and academics and school teachers and who will teach terrible ideas to people. It's as simple as that. It's a scam.
J.S. Deepak gave such a beautiful takedown of the Sarva Shiksha Abhijan about 3-4 years from today in a saffron kurta in some small classroom sort of a place. If you all can find that out, do check it out. He sounded like Thomas Sowell that day. So let's take Buddhadev Bhattacharya Archive's very important question here, that if there were no government schools, wouldn't the same condition be true? I.e., every school charges insane amounts and then nobody is able to pursue education, but those evil profiteering capitalists still go on with their schools without any students to pay for their fees.
So how does that I would refer to you guys to this book by Bourdieu, The State of Nobility or something like that. Bourdieu worked a lot on education. Now Bourdieu said that if like when France had its like boom in education, right? He said that the top schools, like let's say the Sorbonne, right, and some other very good schools in France, colleges, universities, they remained elite. Okay, but because more people wanted education, they had more schools, but the elite schools remained elite. But you need elite schools, like matlab standard bhi hona chahiye na. The good thing about capitalism is you get standards. Like let's say you don't have a lot of money, you can go for the 20 rupees momo on the road. Okay, if you have a lot of money, then you can go for, I mean, you to love chow man, so you can spend 200 bucks on chow man. And if you have $1,000 to spend, then you can go for the $1,000 momos if you want. With a forced government system, I have to go for the 20 rupees momo, for which actually I'm paying $1,000 in taxes.
Yeah. That's the part nobody understands. That's the first problem. It's not free. It's bad and it's free.
And that's the worst part, and we're paying for it. That's the worst part, bro. Like we're paying to, I don't know, I mean, feed children, then feed them directly now. Give them eggs, distribute eggs. It's still cheaper than bringing them to school to feed them eggs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which again then have insects and stuff.
Nobility, elite schools in the field of power. That Navavimarsh gave that name.
Yeah. So but what about that situation?
One more point and then I'll leave. Yeah.
The point which Buddhadev Bhattacharya is concerned about, what if all those private schools raise fees to an extent where no one can pay? What happens then?
Then private schools ही नहीं चलेंगे भाई. भाई ऐसा फीस दिया कोई पढ़ेगा ही नहीं इधर. How will people even afford that? Like you need and the other thing is, like I keep saying, if there is a demand for something, there will be a supply. People
Yes.
will open schools. People have done that. देखो, I'll give you an example. When the British education system के खिलाफ कुछ लोग हो गए थे, then a lot of nationalist leaders opened private universities and schools where
Jadavpur University, Jadavpur Vidyapit, the best. Yes, all of them were started by nationalists.
Jadavpur University was the best when it was run privately. Then the government took over it, and now see what happened. Okay. So some of the best schools and colleges in this country are private schools and colleges, where often, precisely the people wanted something like that, and they got it. Many nationalists started their own schools, which ran for profit and did very well.
Why are those schools asking such a high salary now and getting away with it then?
No.
How to solve that problem?
भाई वो सैलरी जो है वो सैलरी मतलब फीस जो है
Please.
that will reflect the standard. अभी देखो, now let's say tomorrow you and I open a school, right? A sociologist school for the arts. Okay. Now how many people will even enroll there? Not a lot. So even if I charge 10,000 rupees a month, nobody will come to my course. यार, I have to start off with $500. और ऐसे तो होता रहेगा ना. I mean, one day maybe we'll have Mysterious Sociologist University School Group of Institute. क्या सपने देख रहे हो?
Inshallah. Yes.
Inshallah. So let's say I open all these institutes, Mysterious Sociologist institutes, and they are successful, and a lot of people come, and then I open then I increase the fees because more people want it. So obviously it will be a scarce commodity. So I will demand more. Then some other dude, mysterious politician will open, mysterious historian will open a similar type. ऐसा ही तो होता है. If there is a demand, there will be a supply. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, both our internet went away. What the fuck?
भाई तू internet change कर भाई. I am going to Navavimarsh permanently if your internet is like this. Mysterious Sociologist University जब होगा, then this live stream people will see and say that एक ढंग का वाईफाई भी नहीं है इसके पास.
Yeah.
ठीक है. I think
I think we have touched upon all aspects.
Yeah.
Wait, you said Chanakya is the third way other than capitalism and socialism. How can you explain? When did I say this exact sentence? It might have been about a year or so back, because
capitalism is called trans capitalism. Anyway,
Arthashastra is not exactly anything. It was more leaning towards fiscal conservatism, of course, and broadly falls under the spectrum of, let's say, being suspicious of government and bureaucracy and stuff, and very, very potent and efficient state, and being very pro-market. So it's more leaning towards capitalism than socialism. Definitely, socialism was हमारे Ashoka's view. Okay, then the problem is the state keeps interfering. Yes. Okay, then thank you for joining the live stream, guys. Thank you, Mr. Sociologist, for coming on our podcast. Good night, guys. Bye.
Have good dreams.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
श्रवरूढं महाभीमं गुणाद्रष्टाम्बरप्रदं हस्य युक्तं त्रिनेत्रं च कपालकर्णिकाकरां मुक्तकेशिं ललज्जयः पिबन्तीं रुधिरं चतुर्बाहु समायुक्तं वराभयकरं स्मरेत् चतुर्बाहु समायुक्तं वराभयकरं स्मरेत् काली महाकाली कालिके पापहारिणी धर्मर्थ मोक्ष देवी